You should let me know.
Oh, actually, we're live right now. So sorry about that, Dylan. Hey guys, how's it going? We're hosting a debate about like whether Cliff Kingsbury is a basically, like I said on the tweet, trash or if he's okay by anybody's standards. I personally think he gets way too much criticism, and the reason why is because I think that it ties in mostly to him and his quarterback, especially with Kyler Murray, and why he didn't ascend him to like all pro or Pro Bowl status. That Kyler Murray is able to do the special things that he's able to do, but the problem is that his head coach is trash, and his being the offensive playmaker or offensive play caller, that he makes the wrong decisions or he's not able to ascend a player up to better status. And of course, you have Jaden Daniels, and this past season with the Commanders, they went ahead and moved off from him. I personally think it was more of a disagreement, and Dylan thinks it's more of like, and I assume you think that it's more like they
I
moved
do.
off him because he's bad.
Yeah, I
So
do.
I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna start this debate. I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to make your case about him overall, and then I'm gonna ask you some questions about it, and afterwards I'll go ahead and make my counter points about it. So go ahead and you can take the floor, Dylan.
Sounds good. So I'll just stick with I think Cliff's trash. I think Cliff's trash because his offense isn't adaptive to anything. My biggest thing with Cliff, when people ask me about Cliff, and since I know a lot about what happened in Arizona, is Cliff is a bad player developer because he doesn't understand 50% of the game. And when I say that, I'm saying he doesn't understand the run game. This is something that any former player will tell you, that Cliff Kingsbury does not design the run game. He doesn't call the run game. He doesn't know how to do it. And that's why his offense is involved with screens so much, is because that's his like substitute to not knowing the run game is screens, because they do the same thing, 4 yard gains, whatever. But that just doesn't hurt the quarterback. That hurts every other position group on offense when your head coach doesn't understand the run game. And in Arizona, I'll give it to him. He got a lot of bad luck. Like, I forgot who the coach was that got fired. The running back coach got fired in training camp over domestic violence. That sucks, because that's a big part of your coaching staff, and they never replaced that, which you can put on Kliff, time, whatever. They didn't replace that. They just called up an assistant, which isn't the same thing at all. But that is my biggest thing with Kliff, on why I think his player development is bad, because he just doesn't understand the run game. He doesn't call it. I mean, what OC in the NFL doesn't understand the run game? That's unheard of in this league. Um, Another thing, his offense is very predictable. I had players. I was 18 years old. I had players on the offense texting me after, in specific, the Denver Bronco game in 2022. Why are the players asking me, an 18-year-old who didn't know as much as I do now about football, what is wrong with our offense? Like, how is that? That is ridiculous. That should never happen in football. That's why I think, at least in Arizona, for sure he was bad. I think in Washington he was still bad, but Jaden Daniels maybe ran the offense better because he was more in tune with running, like Kyler did in 2020. He wanted to run more, but that also, you can't over abuse that, because as we saw, Jaden got hurt running. And then this year, right when he comes back from injury versus the Chargers, they run him into the ground again. So we don't got to go too much into it right there. I want to hear your points on what I just said.
All right, so I went ahead and put up I went ahead and wrote a quick notes when it came to like his overall career and whatnot. And it's obviously I'm interested in knowing what players were the ones who were telling you like, or were texting you and telling you that his offense, what was wrong with the offense and whatnot. If you're willing to share that, that's fine. Not that's I understand. Obviously, we can't 100% say that we can confirm unless you can confirm with me that who these players are and what
I
they
got the
actually said.
text. I can show the text. I don't know if I don't know if I'd show the player yet. I don't know if I do that just yet. Even though he is retired now, I don't know if I want to go that far. But
I'm wondering.
I'll show you off stream if you want to do that.
That's fine. We could always go ahead and do that, but without the actual confirmation, it's hard for me to say, "Hey, that actually was said." Because obviously, think about it this way as well. I can say as well, "Hey, I got sources or insiders that are telling me right now that Steve Keim loves to have like rubber ducks in the bath, and that he likes to squeak them and he puts them in line. And then as he's doing that, he's drinking like a bottle of like Jack Daniels and stuff. I can go ahead and say that, but like without
Mhm.
actual confirmation,
No, I get it. I get it.
I can't
I have no
really like.
reason to lie, though. I mean, it's not hard to tell that when you could look at all my social medias, I have former Cardinals players that follow me everywhere.
All
So,
right,
I
let
mean,
me see if I could pull up. Gotta I gotta remember how to use this streaming thing. So I just want to show. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my quick little notes here. Wonder if I can make my screen a little bit bigger. I can make the screen bigger, but I cannot see how to make it go down. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to this. Okay, so Cliff Kingsbury's departure from the Commanders is more due to disagreements, is what I'm saying, and a little bit of the things that I found, and how his offense should run moving forward. So I went ahead and looked up some articles, and there was two key pieces that I looked up. So they said it was more so of a disagreement. So what I am assuming is that obviously after the year was done and whatnot, Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury had themselves a meeting. They had talked to each other, and I think Dan Quinn, from the sources that I looked up, and obviously you could just Google it and looked up, Cliff Kingsbury's departure, or did Cliff get fired, or what happened with that. A lot of these titles will tell you the same thing. They'll say like, "Hey, Cliff's departure," mostly saying like, "Hey, Cliff was moved off from," and so you could read that as getting fired. You can also read that as a disagreement, but when I read into these articles, they mostly go and say that Dan Quinn just did not want to move forward with that type of offense, and that could mean, hey, he didn't want to move off of that type of offense because he just he was saying that it was holding him back, or maybe he just doesn't think that's the future moving forward. So they need to do some different type of stuff with Jaden Daniels as you move on, because maybe he just didn't like the fact that he did get hurt. And I will agree, he tends to use his quarterbacks in this RPO heavy scheme, as I wrote over here. So, anyways, the running portion of the offense is more of a draw. So basically, dropping back and then taking off, making everybody think that the offensive linemen are pass protecting instead of run blocking. And between the tackles, which includes a lot of power, which that's what you did with Kyler Murray. He did a lot of draw as well. And counter and horns concept, which is a center slash guard pulling concept. The other portion of the run game is RPO read type concepts that include QB bash and QB smash concepts. QB bash being run away, which is run no back away, which is the running back running across the formation on a jet sweep, and the quarterback essentially reading the edge defender is going to be blocked. He's either going to give it to the running back, who's going to take it to the edge and outrun the edge defender, or he's going to keep it and then follow his blockers in this power concept or counter concept. And so with the RPO, it's the safety you're essentially reading. If the safety comes down to the box, he's gonna go ahead and throw behind him. If the safety stays where he's at, he may run it himself, or he may hand it off. All right. This type of offensive philosophy is fast and up tempo, which, when you look at the bare bones of what an air raid offense is essentially trying to uh what it's trying to achieve is, we're attacking space and we're not allowing your defenders to get your defenses set and try to keep your defenders in line with each other and not have constant substitutions. So we know that defenses oftentimes try to match the personnel that's on the field. 13 personnel, you're going to have more heavier personnel on the defense. 11 personnel, you're going to have quicker guys out there, or at least to try to match up. So trying to speed the timing of where these guys have to have the play call to the green dot user, line everybody up, or get the right personnel in. You're trying to limit that so that way they can just get themselves set. And so, where did I leave? A line in front of 6 or 7, 6, 7. I made a joke right there. And make the play on the fly, usually in space. So in theory, there's a matchup problem for defenses. You better substitute that defender fast, get the play line up fast, because you are most likely staying in that unit most of the drive. So in drive situations and stuff, he wants to keep that unit. So if they get that matchup mismatch where they got more tight ends and your defense is in nickel, or it's in like dime, and you got cornerbacks, we're either gonna smash mouth and run power, or we're gonna have these tight ends just abuse your cornerbacks and whatnot. And of course, that's not to say the entire game is up tempo. Doesn't I mean it's not all up tempo. It's certainly the case for offensive personnel. It doesn't change it. It actually does, but defense need to match up personnel change. In this philosophy, it does it quicker. So it's just like I mentioned, attacking space, which is exactly what I mentioned. You guys can also just read along over here, if you guys don't want to follow up with me, but or like pause it in future streams and go ahead and read this quick little notes that I put up. I'm not going to be oblivious to the fact that the best offenses use high motion under center scheme, which is evolving to routes from gap insert and straight drop backs under center. Under center meaning no play action, handoff, fake, and then hit the back foot. More so 3-5 step drop just from under center. You guys got to think about Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak is now starting to call more straight dropbacks, and that's what he did a lot with Sam Darnold instead of just trying to hand the ball off because that kind of conditioned defenders like linebackers to come down, and they're still coming down even though he's not faking the handoff. They're like, oh, he's not faking it, and they're like, well, we bid on the fake, and then that route's out there quicker, and he's out there to be able to see the entire field without having to turn his head and fake the handoff.
You don't see
So
it that
that
much anymore.
so
That's the problem.
yeah, I know that you do agree, Dylan, because I'll go ahead and go with this on this portion. You do agree that like the offenses out in the NFL are not like Cliff type or not what Cliff is trying to run.
It's because they don't work. There's no long term success because you can only spam 7 yard outs, hitches, ins for so long. And we'll get into Washington why it didn't work there, but I have a great reason why it didn't work there, and I think you may agree.
All right, so we're gonna look at the ranks of the team before and after. When Cliff took the offense. So you have your total numbers right here, 2018 rank. I mean, let's not mince words over here. They were horrible.
Holy, that was so bad.
They were horrible. They weren't
Oh,
even like
that's horrible. That's not even.
yeah. I mean, I looked up because I'm doing a project on offensive lines, and their offensive line rank was like 32nd unit, and it wasn't shocking to me. They lost a bunch of offensive linemen and had
Yeah, they
to.
were starting 5 new. I mean, they lost. I know they were starting that bust. They were starting like everybody on their O line was a first round pick, but they were all bust. Like,
Yeah,
I
they
remember they
was.
starting that dude from the Chargers. I forgot his name. God, I'm blanking. It was bad though. It was bad.
Oh yeah, DJ went out. I think we had just gotten. What was that guy that we got from
We
the
had
Giants?
Mikey Lapotas still maybe. We had Justin Pugh who got hurt.
Justin Pugh. There you go. Who else did we?
I was AQ still playing. I can't even remember.
I think he was. I think he was playing
AQ. I think
center.
he maybe was. Yeah, I think he was. And then at right tackle, we had a first round pick who can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't remember any of them because it was that forgettable of a season, and I'll go ahead and admit that I didn't even watch a lot of those games. But I mean,
I can't even
seeing that
remember watching those games. I think I stopped watching after the Broncos game. I think that was it for me. And I know I watched the Packers game at the end because it was close.
that was actually a game that I did see, and it was a breath of fresh air that we actually beat the Packers, and then they fired the coach
Fired Mike
finally.
McCarthy, and then we tried hiring him in the same offseason.
That's crazy. That's so insane how these things are entangled and they happen. So, like, moving on to 2019 was the big change in turnover and staff, but also turnover and player. Obviously, we took Kyler Murray number one overall, and I don't know. Do you think because there's a portion of the fan base that says we were ready to draft Kyler Murray and that we hired Kliff Kingsbury for that reason? And I'm looking at the timeline. I see more so that Kyler did not. So Kyler, looking at the interview and what happened, he didn't even declare till after Kliff Kingsbury was hired, and
Mhm.
Kliff, I believe, was hired somewhere in like third week of January, I believe, and Kyler declared right before the combine or somewhere around the combine. I don't remember. Do you know by any chance?
I know when he declared. I know it's weird. I was in like eighth grade, or no, sorry, I was in high school. I was in freshman high school math class or English class. So I know that when he declared, but I honestly don't remember when he declared either. But I remember when he declared, like where I was, but I don't remember the date.
Well,
Which is
I
funny.
know that there was a big um a big push by the media to try to get him to declare or tell the media, "Hey, this is what Kyler's gonna do," because there was the baseball, obviously. He got
Yeah.
drafted 8th overall in baseball, and so I understand why he kept his cards closed because if you really think about it, it is a big leverage play for any team that drafts him if he has that ability to just be able to say, "Don't draft me, I'm going to baseball," or "I don't want to play for your team,
Yeah, he had to pay
I'm
the
going to
A's
baseball."
like $11 million back.
Yeah,
He got like
that
like
really is
14 mil guaranteed, and then he had to pay 11 of it back because he got 3 mil for that year, I guess, that he played college football. Then he had to pay like most of it back, which is
yeah.
crazy.
Well, at least he made it back up with that big contract, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's stressing about it.
Nah. It was a good leverage move on his part, I will say that. It kinda did
Well, he
irritate
only
me.
got drafted that high. He only got drafted that high in the MLB because of football. Like they just didn't want him to play football. Like because if you look at his about him in college when he played baseball, he was only like a 280 hitter and he was a double machine, but he had like no pop. Obviously had speed and a good arm, but like he really wasn't an eighth overall pick worthy, in my opinion at least. I'm not the biggest baseball guy, but
Yeah, I wish I had more, knowledge about baseball because I used to love watching the Diamondbacks. But, off comment, of course,
yeah.
he did go into his interviews and he it was funny, it irritated me how, like, how much he was asked, and he was like, "I'm not gonna answer that question." They were asking him, "Are you," like, they were trying to do some special things, like, say, like, "Hey, so, uh, this baseball, which one feels better, the baseball or the football?" And he's like, "I don't know, they both feel the same." Something like that. I'm just paraphrasing here.
Were you on the Kyler train? Like, did you want them to? I'll be honest, I didn't want them to draft Kyler,
I
but
was on the I was on the clip. I mean the clip, sorry. I just read a comment from Richard here. Um, I was on the Nick Bosa, and I will
I
admit
was
that.
also on the Nick Bosa train. I wanted Bosa or Williams.
Yeah, and I wasn't so sold on Williams. I know that Brett Coleman had mentioned he's probably the best prospect coming out of this draft, and the Cardinals should think about like drafting him. But this is what made me kind of hopeful, and at the same time, I thought to myself, we're going that direction. So
Hmm.
Billy Davis, was his coach in college, I believe. I think he was like the outside linebacker or the linebackers coach for Ohio State, and we drafted him. We signed him to
Signed him.
become our linebackers coach in 2019, and people kind of correlated that. And I could be wrong. If you guys, if I'm wrong, then whatever. Like, go ahead and point that out. But he was his coach in college, and then we hired him as the linebackers coach, and thus then in that situation, I thought, oh, we're getting Nick Bosa. I mean,
I
if
think
you
it's
think,
funny. I think it's funny. I don't know if you were on Twitter in 2008, 19 offseason, but right when Kyler declared, Johnny Vrabel had it pinned on his Twitter that he would delete his account if they drafted Kyler Murray for 4 months, 4 or 5. I swear to God, anybody that was on Twitter at that time knows that he had Kliff Kingsbury's picture as his profile picture. This was before Phoenix or whatever. I don't even know what he was doing
mm,
at that time, but
or,
he had if the Cardinals draft Kyler Murray, I will delete my Twitter for 4 or 5 months, and then right when they drafted him, he took it off. I don't even think the tweet's there anymore. But it was anybody that was on Twitter at the time knows.
oh, he deleted that quick because I listened to the Revenge of the Birds podcast. That's what he was. He was obviously with my co-host Blake Murphy. They had that
Well, that's what he did.
pairing
You're
that.
right.
Yeah, actually, and I like that pairing. I was a big Johnny Venerable like guy in that situation. I really loved his takes and whatnot. But yeah, he was on it like saying like the Cardinals should not draft Kyler Murray first overall. This will be a big mistake. It will just be like pushing us back. And I agreed. I was telling
Yeah.
myself, Josh Rosen did not have a good year, but we also didn't have what you would consider as a good unit around him or good coaching around him. Give him the ability to at least have this year. And if you are going to draft Kyler Murray, keep him on the roster. Let's see what he can do. But of course, we didn't do that.
Hey,
The
they got a good haul for Josh Rosen, and then they just
Steve Kime could have
Kliff
had better.
drafted. Kliff wanted Andy Isabella. That is on flight plan. If you go watch it, Kliff
Yeah,
pretty much drafted Andy Isabella. That was Kliff's pick. He wanted him.
yeah.
He got him.
Had
He
they
was horrible.
drafted DK Metcalf, that would have been seen as at least a pick that was like, hey, it went towards something. But I think that Steve Keim could have probably used his at the very least, he could have done better to get a higher pick. But I believe he just kept him on the roster, lied about like not letting him go on to, to cut him or whatnot or to trade him away. And then of course we saw 2019 that they made that move. Yes, it's on flight plan. I remember seeing that where they got to 6th, 7th, and the Dolphins wanted Josh Rosen. Let's like, hey, let's pull the trigger. And Isabella's still here, so they went ahead and made the trade, and they drafted Andy Isabella 2 spots ahead of DK Metcalf. Which I will say, like, I was excited for Andy
I was
Isabella
too. How could you
because
not be? He was so good at UMass.
he was fast. He was a guy that they showed some promise, but unfortunately, like they went ahead and drafted him, and it didn't culminate to a lot. And I mean, there was some plays that that are that are good plays. I mean, he had that San Francisco 49ers touchdown, but
Yeah.
they just I don't know. They
Hey,
just couldn't
hey,
maximize that.
as much as fan bases will say 2020 they hate picks, there's been so many draft picks of the Cardinals that I know a majority of the fan base was so happy we drafted. Like Isaiah Simmons. Remember Hakeem Butler? Andy Isabella is a good one. Robert Condice was like seen as a great pick at the time because he was so talented, but I digress.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So yeah, we're going into like draft talk now. So
Yeah, my
so
bad.
no,
There's
no,
so
it's
much to
fine.
talk about, you know?
There's a lot because this is a timeline section. But as y'all can see, 2019, 21st, obviously 24th, 10th, and rushing. That was mostly contributing to Kenyon Drake and Kyler Murray. Obviously, you saw a lot more read options by Kyler Murray, and you saw what Kenyon Drake giving that burst to the run game and whatnot. David Johnson descending, mostly being more of a catching threat than a running between the tackles threat, and that change in running style was actually what the only reason why we rushed for 1,990 yards, which was good for 10th. Points per game 22.6. That's actually shocking to me when I first saw that. That's pretty good, and we'll I'm gonna go over to give more nuance to this by bringing up the defenses because Cliff Kingsbury, for all his years, even back in Texas Tech, his defenses have been horrendous, and I will explain that can also correlate to what you can call and what you can't call on the playbook. EPA 19th, total EPA was 18th. All right, so let's look at the 2020 ranks. Total yards 6th with 6,153 points, 25 for 6th. Passing 17th, rushing 7th, still high up there with rushing. And Kyler Murray had his best season running the
Mm-hmm.
ball at that
Best
time.
season of his career.
I believe
No,
he had
no question.
more than 800, I think in 855, I believe. I'm not sure what the number is, but
He had
yeah, it was his.
855 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really so he
Not
was.
running half the season either. He stopped running because he got hurt.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. But he had a lot of good scrambles. He also had well, I'm not sure what the word is, but he had he wanted to run the ball as much as he possibly could and then have that as his attack. I forgot what the term would be, but it's basically not conviction in it, but he basically wanted to be that
He let
that
it happen. I'll
he
talk about this 2020 season because I know a lot about why Kyler stopped running and why this was the turning point of his career pretty much because
yeah,
in 2020, so the whole offensive scheme with Kliff is even the players that played on those teams will tell you that Kliff wanted to run Kyler like Justin Fields was running in Chicago, like power runs, what he was doing with Jane Daniels. But the thing is, Kyler, I don't want to say it was a bad decision because he's so good at running, but he got so hurt that season, and Chuck Harris has tried. Me and him have debated the shoulder injury that he had. It was bad. It was one of the worst shoulder injuries you can get. He had a grade 3 AC joint sprain in his right shoulder, and he got it. He didn't get it from sitting in the pocket for Seattle. He actually injured it running and trying to truck Xavier Howard for a first down versus Miami. I think it was the
oh,
week
I
before.
remember that.
So that's where he hurt his shoulder initially. But then versus Seattle, he got landed on his shoulder in the pocket. You can't do anything about that. But this was the turning point of his career because because in 2021 he said he wanted to stop running the ball. Like this was where it all started. Where the Kyler wanted to stop running was like a thing. It's 2021 is where that started, and that's why you saw early in the year they were 7-0 because you want to be honest, the run game was so good with James Conner. Kyler really, I mean, he ran a lot versus. Trying to think of a game he really ran a lot in that 2021 stretch. He really didn't run all that much. Minnesota, maybe.
I think,
I
but wasn't his average like 3.8? I think like
can't even
James Conner.
remember. But I know
Like,
James Conner was eating, and Max Williams was having a great year in 2021 before he got hurt.
oh my God, he the way that we like view tight ends before that is so weird because tight ends were non-existent in our offenses, no matter who was the play caller and no matter what offense we were running. And even if we were to take a tight end, we were never looking towards taking him higher than number two in the
Second
second
round.
round and whatnot. And I think we drafted a second round tight end from was it Notre Dame, which usually pumped out tight ends like crazy, and we got the only one that like just didn't make a career out of like he wasn't able to make a career for himself, or at the very least he wasn't able to like produce like we wanted him to as a Notre Dame tight end. I will not know what his name is because I'm easy to
I don't
forget, but
even know.
trust
We
me,
could.
this
I want to stick to 2020 real quick though, because 2021 that's a whole nother thing. But 2020, I honestly don't even blame that much on Kliff because what was he supposed to do that year? They were really good. They had the Hail Murray, and then Kyler gets hurt. He gets hurt running the ball. You can't do anything about it. He gets hurt. And then people are trying to blame Kyler that his shoulder injury wasn't bad. Kyler had to stay in Phoenix for another month, which he never does. He never did. He always went back to Texas. He stayed in Phoenix and was rehabbing at the facility. And I know that because Chandler Jones was rehabbing his bicep that year because he tore his bicep versus the Jets. And Kyler was there every day getting treatment on his shoulder and his ankle that he hurt in the last game of the year. So honestly, 2020, I mean, there were if Mason Cole isn't the worst center of all time, and Aaron and doesn't fall on Kyler's ankle versus the Rams, they win that game. Like there's no doubt about it.
yeah,
So
the
2020 is the year I least blame on Kliff because there was just so much unlucky things that happened with Kyler getting hurt, and then yeah,
yeah, that 2020 season obviously was the COVID year. That was the year that like there was no fans in stands and whatnot,
yeah,
and
it was
that
just a
that
mess. Whole year was a
it,
mess.
it was, and but they did get started to like a really good and really high like I should say like the especially like with the defense being able to do exactly what you wanted them to do, which is even if they were to give up the points and give up the yardage to get to the red zone, they were at least able to make some plays. The first one that I always think about is the last two passes by the San Francisco 49ers where we had no business beating them because they just went to the
20 the first, week one, yeah.
yeah, week 1. They had just came off of losing the Super Bowl, and nobody was picking the Cardinals to win that game. And
Mm-hmm.
you see two red zone. You see the last red zone trip. You see a good pass defense by Patrick Peterson in the red
Murph.
zone or in the end zone, and then of course Murph breaking up that ball on fourth down. So they
That
had
was one of
some
my favorite games ever as a Cardinal fan, by the way. That was electric because we didn't
yeah
know if we were getting football or whatever. The games were getting canceled, and then that was an awesome fucking game. That was D Hop had 15 catches, 150 yards. Kyler had 100 yards on the ground. That was an awesome game.
Yeah, I really like that game. That was a Cliff called mesh and got D Hop wide open, and Kyler Murray went ahead and just delivered to him. He took it for like I'm not sure, like 20 yards or
Down the
whatnot.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
And then I think they just ran it with James Conner. Yeah,
yeah, and then after that, that's when the defensive series happened, where the defense actually got some stops. So there was a lot of cohesiveness there, and to add more context to that Miami game, the defense was getting like ran over, and they allowed Tua to they bailed him out quite a couple
they
of
had
times.
no one that week though. That was the problem. Patrick Peterson was out. Murph was out. They had Kevin Peterson playing. They were out top three corners. Kyler played amazing that game, but he got hurt that game. And then Zane Gonzalez shorted a 49-yard field goal. I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah. I think Patrick was playing, but Patrick because I think I know for a fact that there was a key play where he was breaking on a ball, but instead of making the tackle, and I believe it was on a 3rd and long or 4th down, he gambled and he didn't get to the ball in time, and they were
Okay.
able to convert and then continue the
I think
drive,
Dre
and they were
Kirkpatrick out was in. Dre, I know 2 of the 3 were out at least.
yeah,
I
they're
know Dre and
yeah,
Murph weren't playing because of COVID, and
yeah,
then
they're
also their 4th string, maybe the 4th guy. I wouldn't remember. Tremaine Brock. I don't even know if he was still there.
oh no, he was gone. We got rid of him.
I don't even
Good
know.
good good riddance too, because him and
Brock
whatever.
costed them Kyler his first win. I was there at that Detroit game.
Yeah, he had the ball in his hands. He was able to catch it. Let me go ahead and highlight a comment here by my co-host Rebber Reboot. Let me see if I can stop sharing this and then I'll reshare it afterwards.
Oh yeah, I see
We'll
it.
be able to. All right, so AZ fan
That's
wasn't just
true.
exactly wasn't just AZ fans. National media were saying I like Butler pick as a pick over Isabella. That is insane. If you guys go to YouTube, you will see a video about Hakeem Butler being coached by Calvin Johnson, and Calvin getting frustrated with him. He was teaching him, okay, I'm the cornerback sitting across from you. I want you to release this certain way. And Hakeem Butler was just not doing the release that he wanted him to. He's like, no, 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 no. Come, like, you can't do that because if I jam you, then how are you going to release to the inside? So I was like, maybe we made a mistake here. I'm like,
Didn't know to
and he
stem his routes. Well, he was a horrible route runner. So
or how to
he just
release.
he just looked like fucking. He looked like Calvin Johnson at Iowa State. That was.
Yeah, that those highlights are crazy. And of course, Troy Nicholas was the guy.
Troy Nicholas 2 touchdown
Uh,
game versus the Browns. I think. Trying to
what?
remember.
I gotta look
I'm
at
pretty sure. I'm positive he had a 2 touchdown game versus the Browns when Carson Palmer was here. I think
that.
so. That's a
Wow, that
crazy
just
pull if it's true because I'm pretty sure he did.
that is yeah. If that's the truth, then oh boy, like
I
at
gotta
least
look
he
it
had
up now.
something. At least he has something. All right, let me go ahead and pull this back up and let me know if you find that. So we're going 2020 or going to 2021, and of course that's the after the 2020 season. We lost the last 2 games. People were calling
Yeah, it was a
for
bad game.
Cliff's. Yeah, they were calling for
34-20.
said. They're what? 30, oh, you did pull up the
34-20.
game.
This was in 2014 or something. Troy Nicholas. He had 34-20 over the Browns. It's when Michael Floyd had like a long touchdown versus Joe Hayden.
Was that the game where the Cardinals were losing to the Browns and after
They were getting
halftime?
blown out. Yeah, they were getting
Yeah,
blown out and came all the way back or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I was big on Facebook posting, and I remember posting that like Bruce Arians used to take his guys into the locker room and yell at them or like yell the hell out at them and get them to like basically get their asses going because this is ridiculous. And I mean, they ended up winning the
Yeah.
game, so at least I guess it really did pay off. So 2020 people were calling for Cliff's head, and I remember being on the side of, hey, I want Vance Joseph gone because first of all, you had yourself a high drafted rookie that you went ahead and
Mm-hmm.
put him in like certain situations, had him as a situational player. But the guy in front of him, which was Devondre Campbell, it wasn't like he was lighting it up when it came to coverage. It wasn't even like
He was
he
good
was
the first
forcing
4 weeks.
fumbles.
He
He
was
was,
really
he
good
was,
the first 4 weeks.
he was
So
signing, he was signing coverage, but yeah, he started falling apart. Well, the whole point is what I'm saying is like the defense also was frustrating me because there was games where they were allowing like the game saving drives. For instance, the Patriots. That game was blamed on Isaiah Simmons because he hit
Cam
Cam
Newton.
Newton as he
Yeah.
was going out. But who calls a total safety blitz on a second and what was it like 3rd and 12? 3rd and 12,
Yeah.
Cam Newton is not throwing for any. He had like 80 yards passing. He had thrown like 2
Zane
interceptions.
Gonzalez missed like 3 field goals that game. I'm pretty sure 2 field
Yeah,
goals.
yeah, yeah. Of course,
And that was a game Kyler couldn't even throw in. I'm pretty sure. Wait, was that 2021? No, that was 20.
that was
That was a
2020.
2020 game. Yeah, Kyler
Yeah,
had the shoulder injury. Couldn't. I mean, bro, if we're being honest, Kyler shouldn't even have been like if he hurt that now, like he probably couldn't even play. It was
he
that
probably
bad from what people were saying. It was
yeah
bad.
he shouldn't have been out there. So he goes ahead and calls a safety blitz on 3rd and 12. He has Isaiah Simmons, a person I consider the best blitzer on his team.
Generational
At the race.
prospect.
Somebody somebody that you expect to be used in those crazy ways that you think about. He has him drop from the box all the way to deep safety, single high safety. And if you go look at the highlight of this play in itself, you see Buda Baker lined up on the same side as Hassan Riddick. These two guys picked each other off. So instead of having this system where, hey, we're gonna have a scrape and replace system, or hey, I'm gonna take on the running back, you're gonna take on the quarterback, because it was on a read option or an RPO.
Hmm.
Cam Newton decided he's not handing the ball off. They fake the handoff. Both guys crash down to the running back. One of them notices, okay, this he didn't hand the ball off. As he's trying to, I think it's Buda Baker trying to run to have some sort of semblance of contain, or at the very least chase Cam Newton out. Hassan Riddick, it just takes him out, and they're both like on the ground. And on that side of the formation, you had, I believe, Drake or Patrick getting pwned and owned by Josh. I think his name is Burns. No, some his name is something Bird. It was the wide receiver that was with the
Bird.
Cardinals the year before, or
Oh,
in
Demir
2019.
Bird. Demir Bird.
Demir Bird is washing this guy. He's 5'10" and 190, and he's washing a 6'1" cornerback out of the play. Cam Newton has nothing but open space ahead of him, running towards the sideline. Guess who has to go and make the tackle on him? Isaiah Simmons.
Cam embellished that, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He embellished the shit out of that. Man, my good for him. If you want to talk about Vance Joseph, I'm surprised he didn't bring up. They didn't win the Super Bowl that year, but 13-4 49ers have them on the ropes, and I think it was 4th and 4. We have Chandler Jones man
Yeah.
coverage versus Raheem Mostert, and it's a touchdown, and they lose in
Oh
2019.
yeah. I know. Of course, giving up the game clinching third down by playing the soft zone behind that and having Jordan Hicks, the closest guy, become the open field tackler on a quarterback that is not that nimble. But as soon as he was able to get him to move from his little zone to try to make that tackle, he dumps it to a wide receiver. First down, game over. And that was like,
I know
yeah,
we're off top. I'm going to get a little bit off topic here, but that happened in 2023 versus Minnesota. 2024 versus Minnesota, where Justin Jefferson was wide open on 4th and 6 because of soft zone, and that was incredibly. I don't want to say the word. That was, you know what I'm saying. That was so bad.
yeah. So this is why I was more frustrated with Vance Joseph than I was with Kliff at those times. I understand why people wanted Kliff's head, because he's the head coach. He's a guy that is the field general out there. And on top of that, his press conferences afterwards were the same thing. You got to give him credit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what ultimately turned the fan base against him. When I was thinking to myself, well, you have a hurt offense. You don't have everybody. You don't have like all your pieces together on offense, but your defense is complete, and you're giving up 180 yards on the ground to a third string running back versus the 49ers, who didn't have their home. They were practicing here in this stadium because their home back in
Is this
Santa Clara was
2020?
close.
We're talking
Yeah,
about 2020.
2020.
Okay.
Yeah. They had
Brother.
and they had nothing to play for. The 49ers were not in playoff contention. The Cardinals had a better record than them. And this running back runs for 180 yards, gets 200, I believe 220 yards total, because he not only caught a touchdown, but he was able to run for a few. And
That was bad.
It was pretty bad. And Kyler Murray picks up a crucial fourth down on a fake. I think it was like either a fake bootleg.
I remember that. Yeah.
So to me, I was like, hey, that was a big crucial play. But you, on the other side, you also gotta be able to stop a third string and a quarterback in a wide receiver.
CJ Beathard.
CJ Beathard. Yeah, exactly. So you, ultimately speaking, after the game, the press conference happened. Nobody gave any shade towards Vance Joseph. It was all towards Kliff. All right, what is he going to do the next week versus the Rams? If they lose this game because they're going up against John Warford as a starting quarterback, there should be no reason why he loses this game.
No Cooper Kupp that game. No Robert Woods that game.
Yeah.
No Tyler Higbee. No Rob Havenstein. Like, they were missing everyone.
And so, unfortunately, the circumstance was that Kyler Murray did get injured in I believe, the first drive. You had Chris Streveler coming in. He was going up against the best defense in the NFL that actually ascended, while every other defense descended when it came to total numbers, EPA. The Rams were the reason that season in itself was what got I believe I forgot what the coach
Murray Morris got hired that game.
No, it was before that. It was Brandon Staley. That's what got him hired as the head coach, because of the job he did with that defense. So they're stacked.
You're right.
they're
Raheem
stacked
was
up.
after him. Yeah, my bad, go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly. So they have the odds are stacked up against the offense, so the defense really had to step up. It was the same thing. It was maybe they didn't score enough points on offense, and their defense. Look, well, no, I'm saying that the Cardinals offense didn't score enough points. It has Chris Streveler. The offense for the Los Angeles Rams starting a third string like quarterback or whatnot, and Wolford, he kept picking up first downs with his legs because they kept losing contain. And I kept thinking to myself, when is this bleeding gonna stop? Like defense, you have to do what you have to do. You have to step up. Isaiah Simmons gets a forced fumble on the 1 yard line
I
when they're
remember
about to punch it in, and instead of turning that around to make it like to at least kill some clock and whatnot, it was infuriating how many first downs they gave on the ground to Warford, and that eventually became the case where Kyler Murray gets called back in. And I'm not gonna lie, I hate the call that Cliff Kingsbury made on a draw play when
that
Kyler
was so
Murray's
bad.
leg is. Then that led to a lot of people not only being done with him, fire him now in the press conference ensuing where he again says those words. You got to give him credit. It was like, okay, we're done. So obviously we didn't fire him. 2021 came off with the bank. Kyler Murray makes the comment that he makes that he wants to be more of like a pocket passer instead of winning from the pocket instead of using his legs. We see that immediate change. You see the wonderful like catches from that time. And let's go ahead and take this time to say rest in peace to Rondale Moore, because this
The
is the year
homie,
that we
yeah,
drafted him.
that
Yep.
was crazy.
Yeah. If you want to say anything, I'll go ahead and give you the floor about that. If not, then
I've
I'll.
known I never knew Rondell Moore, like, personally. I did talk to him a few times, like, on the game, but I knew a lot of people that did know him, and it's situation's extremely, extremely sad. He was a very nice guy when I talked to him, never had an ego, never had nothing. Very nice guy. That was tragic to hear. I know some of the people I know they want, like, in-house, they want the NFL to care more about this because the NFL doesn't care. They don't care about player health, player mental health. No. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It was extremely sad. It needs to stop for sure. The NFL needs to step in and do something. And any player, any coach, anybody that works in the NFL will tell you that the NFL really doesn't care
Yeah, and
post
it's
if you're
sad.
not playing. Yeah, it is sad.
It's a real thing, and people just don't take that into consideration, especially if it's not like a if it was like a Justin Jefferson situation where it was him, they'd care a lot more about it. And
Oh
because it was
yeah.
Rondell Moore who's been injured the last 2 years, unfortunately, they don't put too much until it happens. And then they do the same thing as like, oh yeah, like it's like I knew Rondell and this and that. When a lot of those people didn't really even check up on him. He was
Oh yeah.
a
No.
From what we could see as fans, he was a really quiet guy. He was like very serious, but the guy had talent. It was crazy to see the how he was able to get up and catch balls as a 5'8" or 5'9" receiver that was like a ball bearing or a guy that just had that strength. And I had that clip that somebody just liked that I posted 3 or 4 years ago. This is when I had only 20 followers, and it was when Rondell Moore lays out. He lays out a defensive end or a defensive lineman. Not sure. Don't remember what his name was. Let me see if I can actually pull that up because I want to go ahead and do this for him.
Oh,
And
for sure. If he would just stay healthy, dude, he would have been immensely. He had some of the best footwork I've ever seen for a running back or for a receiver in open space. It was so smooth. He could stop on a dime, and it was like Tyreek Hill footwork. And it just, yeah, it sucked that he had too long. It wasn't even like the new ACL surgery that they do. He had two long cut ACL surgeries, which is like way worse.
it's
And
it's
yeah, it
it's
was
just
brutal.
yeah, it's bad because he obviously took football very serious and was always upset that he wasn't able to contribute like he did. Here's the play right here. I'll go ahead and restart it. This
Um,
was the one I made, I believe, like I'm not even sure. I look at the date, May 6th, 2022. So this was after the 22 season.
yeah.
Um, he is essentially lined up somewhere in the slot. Wish we had that film. Well, of course we don't. They went ahead and got rid of it. So I highlight 91 over here. This is Kyler Murray, by the way, versus the Packers. This was a pretty good throw right here, and you got to give credit.
This would have been a career changing drive for Kyler Murray. 99 yards, 7-0 versus 7-1, 7-0. Don't even remember.
7-0,
But this would have
yeah.
been a career changing legacy drive for Kyler Murray if the AJ Green thing didn't happen.
Yeah, that one was capped it off. But look at that.
That was a
He
great play.
is a 5'9" wide receiver, lays out a 6 foot whatever, 200 and whatever pounds, maybe 89. I don't know.
I'll shout out my boy Eno. Eno used to do that shit too.
You know
Watch him,
Benjamin?
yeah. If you watch him pass block,
Yeah.
God, he used to lay people out. There's a clip I have liked on Twitter somewhere of him doing it versus the Packers too, which is funny.
Was it in the same game or was it a different
I
game?
think it may have been a preseason game, but
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember. But hey, he still did it. He was smaller than Rondell, same size.
And look at this throw over the middle as well for
Yeah.
to AJ Green, I believe, wide open space. So got to give credit for whatever concept they were running because they got him wide open and they got
Wish
Kyler
we
Murray
could tell.
throw over the middle as well. Yeah, look at the protection here too.
He sees the lane though. He's throwing through the O line.
Yeah, no, obviously buying them that extra time because they got 5 linemen, I believe. Devondre Campbell over here playing
Try
for
to
the
stunt, didn't work. 2 stunts.
playing for the Packers and actually playing well because of course he did.
Who's
Oh
at
my
center
god,
that game? Because Rodney's not there.
I think it's who is it? I'm not sure. That's a good question. Yeah, that's not Ronnie Hudson. Obviously, we could tell
Maybe
by this.
maybe it was Pew. I don't know. I can't tell. 64.
64. Yeah, that's Pug. I think that was. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that was
who's
interesting.
at? He's either at left. He's not at right guard. So
He was a player that we did slide into center
slide
here and there though.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to see that end zone angle. I mean that wide zone sideline angle for that. But of course, unfortunately, like I mentioned, we lost the archive for it. I don't know why, but they just got rid of it. So
If you were
thanks.
curious about that AJ Green play, I still really don't know who's at fault, but I think the majority of people think it was Kyler. I think I've heard it was both though, so I don't know from players on the team. I've heard it was both, but I think the majority thought it was Kyler.
I think going back to that, it was a lot more people saying that AJ Green screwed up that play, that he didn't turn his head. But I wrote an article a long time ago,
Kyler
and I
checked the play. It wasn't Kyler checked the play. It was a run play.
okay,
Sean Harlow. Okay, yeah,
John
there you
Harlow,
go.
yeah. Thank
That's a
you.
name. I've
Another
heard.
HG days. Thank you.
So I heard from. I'll just say their names because this play doesn't matter. But I've heard from Eno. It was AJ's fault, but from Max Williams, I've heard it was Kyler's fault. So I don't know which one was which, but I think the majority are probably going to, because it was a run play and Kyler checked the play to Kirk, and then I don't know if he checked it to the other side. I think that's where it was, or AJ may have missed the check. So who
If
really
I'm
knows?
if I'm lucky, I might have this. I think I have it in my archives. I got my drive connected, but this is what I wrote in my article, and I said mostly it's a high. What we say like so many variances took place, and there was a lot
The
of
bad part
things.
is Kyler threw a great ball. That would have been a great ball if AJ turns his head.
Yeah, I think. God damn it! I wish I could find it because I like that going back to that clip and uh, being able to see like, hey, I actually saved it. No, it's not on. No, I don't have it saved on this. I have it on my drive, and I'm not about to go look through a lot of
I
clips
don't
of my
blame you.
drive. But yeah, anyhow, like so I saw off coverage for whoever's defending AJ Green.
Rasul
And
Douglas.
so Rasul Douglas, he was basically in the end zone, and there was a that's the alert play because the concept was to the left side of the formation. Don't know if that was the field or the boundary. Doesn't matter. So you have your 3-by-1 formation. AJ Green's solo to the boundary, uh, and he has off coverage. So I thought to myself, maybe AJ Green was thinking because what he did was he ran his route jammed up on the cornerback and then turns to his right to look for the ball, thinking that he could just kind of like jam the he could jam up the corner and basically shield him from the pass on a comeback. And what was the case was that Kyler Murray thought, I think he thought that he was going to continue the route after the
Hmm.
jam. So he threw it. And obviously, when AJ Green turned around, Rasul Douglas, by the way, people need to also affirm that he made a crazy good play by being able to intercept this ball with no vision of where the ball's at behind AJ Green. And it just happens to be a situation where, of course, it had to happen to the Cardinals, where
Yeah,
he makes
exactly.
a
I was just about to say. Of
he makes a
course.
crazy good play. Yeah, like that's why when I wrote my article, I kind of mentioned like it's not as important to go ahead and say, hey, that was a misread by AJ Green, or that was a bad throw by Kyler Murray. More so than it's like it was a great
It's
like
just unlucky, man. That's
it
all it
was.
was.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Because if
see if
that ball's incomplete, they're gonna score. Like they just drove 99 fucking yards. Like they're gonna score.
exactly. I do got the play, by the way. I'm gonna
Okay.
go ahead and share that real quick so we can
But
go back.
from
It
the two
isn't a.
players that I've talked to about this play, they don't even really know whose fault it was. So I think I don't know whose fault it is.
I think it's just less important. I think the truth
Yeah,
of the matter is it was an unfortunate play, and it
that's
sucks that
all it was.
it had to
Yeah.
happen to the Cardinals. So let me go ahead and share this. So this is the play like we were just talking about. Okay, so the design is a 3-by-2 formation.
Bunch
You have the
set. Yeah.
you have the bunch on the field side, and then you have the boundary. You have the running back off
They got what they
formation to the
wanted.
right.
This
Yeah,
is definitely what they wanted.
and I'm not sure what you would say, but this is kind of looking like zero blitz, but it
It is
doesn't end up
zero.
becoming. Do
Well, it
you
looks
think
like
it's
zero at least.
but the corner? No, the reason why I'm not saying like I'm
They're
not
not running
correcting you.
mug, so
No,
I
like
honestly
I think
don't
you
remember
are.
what they did. So
I think it would be zero because you have the safety that actually ends up blitzing. And I also mentioned this too, that like the hurry up that happened also got the ball out quicker, and it kind of messes with the accuracy issues if he was trying to throw it to the outside. I'm not sure. But anyways, you have the safety lurking, obviously going to the maybe to take on the running back. I'm not
this
100% sure.
he is on the running back. Yeah,
But you see that, he got chipped. He tried to get over him, and he got this player got chipped. Who is
is
it?
that
Is he the
Chase in the backfield? Oh yeah, it was Chase.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. You see the chip?
Uh,
So as soon as you see the chip, Kyler Murray's trying to get rid of the ball right there. Not 100% sure. Yeah, that was wrong. He didn't turn to the outside. He turned to the inside.
yeah, so that's why I think
Jam.
AJ thought it was a run play. I don't think he ever thought he was getting the ball.
Needed. So this could have been a check right here, but obviously the Green Bay Packers go ahead and send. Yeah, this is zero. This is
Yeah,
100% zero. And
and
boom.
I hate if you want to roll it back real quick. I hate when fans were like, Kyler missed Christian Kirk coming over the middle. It's like, bro, that was never a read. Like that was,
Oh yeah.
it was always a fade to AJ. It was never Kyler was never going to go through a progression. But I
Yeah.
remember that was conversation like, oh, he missed Kirk. Look at him, he's wide open. It's like, no, he didn't. He was always throwing the fade. That's just what the play is.
Yeah, and looking at the way that these cornerbacks were covering, especially on zero, that's probably the reason why they called it, because they
It
didn't
was a
have
good
enough space
throw.
to work with it. Yeah, and right there,
Just
yeah,
AJ's boxing him out. If AJ knows the ball's coming to him, he's boxing out Rasul Douglas because Rasul
hmm
Douglas is like 5'10". Yeah,
yeah,
they did that all
yeah,
year.
yeah. I agree. That was not a good read by AJ Green here. He 100% probably should have turned around. I kind of see that now. And even if you guys got a quick glance of the messages, I was messaging my
Alex Rawlings.
sponsor, Alex Rollins, yeah,
Yeah,
and he said that, "Oh, yeah, that was on AJ Green. This was a good throw by Kyler." But again, oh, there it was. 51
it's a
was the guy
weird
that got
snap
chipped.
too.
Yeah, it was 51. I was wondering. I thought that was a safety. A safety comes, takes a long looper for some reason.
That was a good chip
51
by
gets a
Chase.
good chip, yeah. And the ball, like, oh, get the ball out. Here they come. Boom. Yeah. So it's probably like you said, maybe it was a check at the line of scrimmage and that happened, or just AJ Green just didn't think about it there.
I think it was a check because I'm pretty sure it was a run play at first, and then he checked out of it,
Yeah, look how
which
confused
was
he
the right
looks.
call though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. I'm also rewinding it to get to see if there was any signals. Usually that indicates a change at the line of scrimmage.
Could have been before maybe, because I'm pretty sure when I was talking to them about it, they said Kyler was checking the play because they said it was a run play. But maybe
Man.
I'm wrong. Maybe I was wrong. The
Re-
conversation happened years ago, so I'm trying to remember.
Regardless, it
It doesn't
sucks.
matter. It
I
just
hate
that never happens. If you run that play back 1,000 times, that will never happen again.
it.
It happened the one time.
A lot of people will say that's what turned the basically what the Cardinals trajectory was because we lost that game. But people forget that we also won 2 games versus NFC West opponents with
James Conner had a game of his life.
yeah, he had a game of his life, and so did Zach Ertz versus the Seattle Seahawks. James Conner had a
Oh,
good one.
Zach Ertz. Oh my God, that was the worst trade in
You didn't
Cliff
like Zach
Kingsbury
Ertz?
era history. No, and this is why. When Zach Ertz came in here, this is so 2021 where they traded for Zach Ertz. This was the start of Cliff Kingsbury losing the locker room. This is when it all started, and it's because when Zach Ertz came over here, first of all, he changed a lot of the offense to fit Zach Ertz in, which he didn't need to do. He could have just had him in the Max Williams role, but he changed a lot of the offense to get Zach Ertz in here, and this is why D Hop wanted to leave. This is a big reason, or one of the bigger reasons, is because every time Zach Ertz didn't get the ball, he would go to Cliff Kingsbury's office and complain, and Cliff pretty much went with it. He pretty much had no pushback. The offense changed when Zach Ertz got here, and he lost a lot of respect from a lot of players, including D Hop, who obviously he got hurt that year. But that was when everything kind of just started for Cliff. I think the Zach Ertz trade is when you can pinpoint the downfall of Cliff Kingsbury, and that's how he ended up losing the locker room in
I
2022.
I will say I watched a lot of Zach Ertz film, but he was cooking. I will say
He was
that.
good. He was a good tight end. It wasn't because he was a bad player. It was just because of how Cliff handled Zach Ertz. Because you can't buy into players going to your office and complaining to you that they're not getting the ball enough. That can't happen as a coach. That's high school level shit.
Well, here's a Max Williams was a good run blocker or a pass, but he was both. He was a good blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see the switch being from, hey, you have a good system with your tight end to help you in run support or be able to run block and pass protect. And now you have somebody that is not as good or not even good at all.
Zach Ertz wanted to play a true Y
I see.
rather than playing on the line, and that's kind of it does change the offense. So that was
Yeah.
really where it was. And
Hey,
yeah, Cliff lost a lot of respect from players for that because everyone knows he was giving into Zach Ertz's bullshit. And yeah, I
well,
love the trade when it happened though because I never knew about any of it. But
well,
that's when
I
I'd
will.
pinpoint it is when it started to go downhill.
If I could look through my archive, I have a lot of Zach Ertz frustration, like clips where he's either breaking open or whatnot, or he's about to break open, and then he like gets frustrated. I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can kind of see how that can kind of boil over to him being like, "Hey, I'm getting open. Like, come on, like, you need to throw me the ball more." So,
Well, he
well,
was a top five tight end in the league at that point, so he was
hmm
like that. He was used to it. Like he wasn't a role player anymore. Or at the time he was. I'm part of this offense. I need the ball.
yeah. I mean, there goes the tight end diva, right? So 2022 was an awful season and things culminated bad. Obviously, we had the right after we had that horrible playoff loss, and people can take their sides on who was more at fault
Man,
on
that was
that.
everyone's fault.
I think so too. I think first of all, the defense was horrible, and
Defense
Isaiah
was
Timmons.
horrible. Offense couldn't do anything. Game plan was horrible. They got outcoached by Sean McVay, which happened every single time they faced them
Yeah,
with Cliff. It was Kyler was horrible. Fucking Rondell Moore. I don't want to speak on dead on the O, but he almost costed a pick. He got that crazy catch. I remember that. That was just there was so
that
much
was
unlucky
overall.
stuff that happened in that game too, because that was when injuries happened again that year, and this is more on Kine than Cliff because everyone was hurt down the stretch. Rondell, JC, Chase, D Hop. I remember versus the Cowboys, they had like half their starters out on defense, or more than half their starters out, and they still somehow won that game, even
They
though
won
Chase
that.
Edmonds did fumble.
They, they won that game because that's Isaiah Simmons blitzing through the A gap and
Buddha
pushing
had a
aside.
crazy game that game too. Yeah.
Yeah, they kept it. It was so funny because I looked at that game again. They were obsessing over that after that play. They were like, "Oh, this guy, he plays for the Cardinals." Hey, they spoke to his coach back in back with Clemson and this and that. And they were like putting the camera on him, and he was just standing there with his hands like this and everything.
Yeah.
That was a crazy game.
20,
But yeah,
2022 was interesting though, because this was the year Kyler's deep ball falls off. He gets hurt in quotes in training camp with the wrist injury. He gets soft benched during the year. He was not hurt when he got benched for Colt McCoy in the middle of the year. He was soft benched. Everyone knows that. Kliff ends up losing the locker room because of a multitude of things, and yeah, he was deservingly fired. There's no argument otherwise, in my opinion. You can't argue he didn't deserve to get fired.
I just this is what I get frustrated about. I wish we had not had Vance Joseph continue to coach this defense because in
Oh,
every year, every metric, the offense outplayed the defense. Even up to this point, like the offense is still outplaying the defense when it comes to the metric, EPA points and whatnot. The defense has not been good for the Cardinals since 2016, I believe. That was the last time you saw a elite type of defense. And if people know anything about like when it comes to your floor and your ceiling. Your floor is set by the defense, your ceiling is set by the offense. So that's what frustrates me because if you had probably a better handling of the talent, especially on the defensive side, maybe you have more closer games and maybe you have the ability to call every single play on your playbook instead of having to do these rush like just pass plays, screens, and trying to get the ball down the field as often as they do, and then obviously having the opposing edge defenders the tee off on your guy on a constant basis and kind of
mm-hmm.
limit you. But I after the 2022 season, and I have the ranks right here. Obviously, you got 22nd for total yards. You have points per game,
Yeah,
21st with just 20, passing 36-26, rushing 1,873. Your EPA is obviously in 26. Um, and we can say that even before Kyler Murray went down with an injury, they were struggling.
it
They
was
were struggling
bad.
on
It
offense.
was
Yeah,
bad. They didn't
and
get Hollywood and D Hop to play until they got them both 1 week, and then with Vance Joseph and all that, dude, I'll give it to Kliff. The way they manage that is horrible because the players in the locker room, they honestly thought Vance Joseph was more of the head coach than Kliff at times, especially when they blew out the Browns that one in 2021, where Vance was the head coach because Kliff got COVID, and Kliff rushed back to be the head coach because they did amazing. Let's just be honest. Um, yeah, I mean the way that Kliff wasn't even able to pick his staff, and he had Sean Kugler who was calling the run plays the whole time in Arizona, and then he had before he was fired. And then Vance Joseph were both actually gunning for his job the whole time and wanted to be the head coach is very unfair to Kliff. I'll give him that. Vance Joseph wasn't even that good here, but once Kliff got fired in 2022, 110% of the player support to be the next head coach, even Kyler, everyone wanted Vance to be the head coach. Obviously, he didn't get the job. But the fact that Vance was gunning for his job the whole time he was in Arizona is very unfair to Kliff Kingsbury. I'll give him that.
yeah, it also creates a dynamic of like, look, if nobody, and let's be fair, every publication, every podcast was always putting more of the blame towards Cliff Kingsbury than Vance Joseph. I thought to myself, it would frustrate me because I would tweet or I would say, hey, like the defense can give up, and they gave up 34 points, 33, 30 points per game on 4 games in a row. They were just completely getting blown out on defense. And I kept hearing the same thing after the game. The defense put the offense in a position to win. And I thought to myself, that's the most ridiculous thing to say when the defense is giving up 30 plus points a game. Are you expecting this offense to score average like 35 or 36? And it's like, and again, I would constantly say the same exact thing. The offense also can call the portion of the playbook if they're either having to fight to stay ahead or if they're having to fight from behind. You just don't have that ability to have that freedom when you have a defense that immediately gives up, either they would get the lead immediately on the next drive, the defense would allow a score. And that you saw that versus the Seahawks when the Seahawks played at home. Well, no, when they played here away basically, and you saw the Seahawks take control of the drives right after the half. And the narrative was, hey, the offense is not on the field long enough because the defense can't rest. Well, what happened that game? They were leading. The Cardinals offense had more time of possession before the half, and then after the half, the Seahawks were up to, they won the toss. So on 3 or 4 consecutive drives, they're long sustained drives, running the ball, scoring on consecutive drives, and it's like, where's the blame? The defense had their little halftime, to be able to to essentially be able to rest up, like they continuously kept saying, and the defense gave up it was just horrible bootleg running plays. It's just horrendous. And you hear Vance Joseph on the HBO Hard Knocks talking about they talked about the boot whenever they would give up a big play on a bootleg. Well, you have never been able to, as a defensive coordinator, teach your guys how to defend a boot. And you know why? It's because you run a system where you set hard edges. Your defensive ends and your edge rushers are shooting up field super far high up the field because you're trying to box the run in. Well, then the quarterback can go ahead and when he bootlegs, he can go ahead and run ahead of your defensive edge defender. When not, your edge defender is either having to go after the quarterback or defend the tight end who's running freely in the flat. Now it doesn't work. It doesn't help your defense when those guys are running wide open freely, and your quarterback can just, I'm just gonna run it a few steps and then hit the guy in the flat. Boom, nobody's there. No one's there
Remember
defending.
the thing with Vance is he couldn't stop us. They couldn't stop screenplays either.
Screenplays,
was,
quarterbacks contain versus the Chargers. There's the commentator that had said that once Justin Herbert took off for like a 30-yard, 40-yard gain when they lost contain, he said no one's ever there.
yeah,
No one's. So yeah,
they had coaching philosophy issues for sure.
yeah.
We saw
So
that. We saw that in the JG era as well.
yeah. That's a whole nother story. I mean, we've
Yeah,
diverted from this thing so much
yeah, I
that
know.
it's fine.
Stay on topic, I guess.
No, it's fine. It was a good conversation. I like it. So in 2022, obviously, you see the ranks right there. So pulled up those ranks. That's when he subsequently gets fired after that season. JG gets hired. I mean, essentially, we think there's going to be a full reset. Whatever the case, Kliff Kingsbury is probably at his lowest when it comes to his ability to get another job as an offensive coordinator, or
You
at
had to
the
go
very
back to
least.
USC.
Yeah, so he went to Thailand and he was there with his wife, and I mean,
Not his
uh,
wife.
no, it was, oh wait, his girlfriend. Okay, it was his
He had a
girlfriend.
lot of
Anyways,
girlfriends.
oh wow,
Trash.
I didn't know he had that many. Um, so he
There's stories
goes,
of him pulling up to the club where the players were at with a new girl every time. He was in
wow,
Arizona. He ain't, yeah.
oh, he was a playboy. Let me
Come
highlight my
on.
my
You see
co-host
how he
right here.
looks.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I remember when he got hired. My then girlfriend had mentioned, oh, there's so many posts about like this guy that you guys just hired, Kliff Kingsbury. They would say, woof, like just making those comments or whatnot.
Yeah.
So Kliff wanted a blocker. Zach wanted to be a Y, and the blown block by Zach Ertz against the Chiefs 2022. Kyler got lit up. That was the moment. I know what block he's talking about. It was on a
I
third
don't.
down,
Mm-mm.
and I'm not sure to counter that. I'm not sure if that was what he knew he was supposed to do, but it wasn't a check for sure. Like there was no full field check by Kyler to pick up whatever was going on there. But Cliff did, I think, post press conference, he had mentioned that that was not on Kyler Murray. So he was there defending him, that wasn't
Mhm.
something that, he didn't check or whatnot. But there's a debate over that. We won't know because we're not there. We're not there to be able to
We
see
didn't
what
even
these guys are
talk
thinking.
about it. We didn't talk about it, but Rodney Hudson helped Kyler so much when he got here that I know everyone hates Rodney Hudson because he didn't play that last year, whatever. Even though that's all unkind, but Rodney Hudson helped Kyler so fucking much. That was probably the third best trade in the Kime era, behind Chandler and D Hop. But Rodney Hudson helped Kyler so much, and it sucks that Kyler didn't like step up after Rodney went down and try to learn the game better himself because everything on the line of scrimmage was all Rodney Hudson.
So he was
It was
calling the
immaculate.
protections, huh?
It was great. Yeah, I mean that's why they honestly traded for him because he was a top 5 center at the time. He's a smart fucking dude, and it sucked that they. I think he got. I don't think he played in 2021, right? Or was it 20? I can't even remember. But I know the full year he played. I think it was 2020, and then 2021. I think he was starting to get hurt. As we saw, this is Sean Harlow was playing center. So, but
I
2020
think
was great.
we traded him. I think traded for him in 2021, and then 2022 he was contemplating retirement.
Okay, so it was
And then
2021.
yeah,
Okay, I honestly can't remember the Rodney Hudson stuff when he got traded here, but yeah, he was great for Kyler, and it sucks that Kyler didn't, you know, want to learn the game more pre snap and get better at that because Rodney was doing everything, and it worked
yeah.
great for the time.
I will see. There are a couple of clips where I kind of am concerned about like the protection pickups and whatnot. I mean, that's shared amongst centers and quarterbacks and whatnot. That's kind of something that you either have to set with your guys, or it could be a case where they don't trust the center or the quarterback to do it. So then the other person has to pick up that slack. Let's see what. Here's my other comment from my partner over here. The swing pass to D Hop against the Titans was a call out by Rodney back in 2021, I believe. Great trade. Kaimon and Jurgens or Linderbaum. Oh, that would have been awesome in 2022 and got neither. Guess what tight end ended up being the guy? That was my boy, Trey McBride.
And
That
everyone
was
hated the pick. Don't let anybody rewrite history. Most people hated that pick because we had Zach Ertz.
and people called that out, and I remember people being furious, and then Trey McBride jumps on with Mina Kimes and even calls it out. He said, I remember when I got drafted by the Cardinals, and there were people like booing me.
He
There were
was
people
everyone
talking
hit.
crap.
I think his breakout game was like the Patriots, where he had like some crazy tough catches, getting smacked, and
I
then
loved that catch because before that, people were justified and vindicated, saying that was a horrible pick. God damn it, White! What is up with this? It's Kime being Kime again. And then he had a couple miss reads, a couple missed blocks. There was a
still
couple of
struggles with
false
that
starts.
sometimes.
Yeah, a couple false starts that people were just like, come on, man, rookie mistakes and whatnot. And he caught that ball. I know what you're talking about. It was a high point one. He gets
Yeah.
lit up and gets back up and hangs on to the ball. And it's just like that's the start of the Trey McBride, because right after that, there was a couple of good. I have these clips that are saved of him. I'll go ahead and post them someday. No, actually, as a matter of fact, I did post one up. It was when Sean McVay called the offense where he had the the fullback B gap or C gap like running the route between the tackles essentially from the backfield, and he called that against the Cardinals, and it was Skoranek essentially coming wide open for the pass, and then Kliff Kingsbury runs the same exact play, just down to the personnel, the personnel unit, the formation under center, fakes the handoff, wide open Trey McBride because this time he's the fullback, but I think what happened was he turned too soon to look for the ball, and he couldn't get up to speed for David Blau to hit him in stride. So, well, whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
Trey McBride, badass. He's a guy that plays with a lot of energy, and he isn't. I will be on record. I was excited for that pick.
There
Um,
you go.
and of
It's a good
course,
call.
I like the pick. There are dozens for us. Yep, exactly. Washington Commanders 2023 season. This is the year before Kliff Kingsbury takes on the job. I don't even care who was the offensive coordinator because I don't
They
really
went
even
4 and
care.
12 that year. They were
Yeah,
horrible.
they were horrible. As you can see, 5,317 total yards, 19.4 points per game. It's really bad. 18th passing and rushing, 27th. Horrible. Points per game, 25th. No, total points 25th. EPA 27. And so we're not even going to waste our time with that. It doesn't really matter. But 2024 was a year that Kliff Kingsbury took on the job. And this is where I went ahead and wrote a bunch of what I wrote in this Word document, where his philosophy was almost changed up to have to not only evolve from where he was at, And I will say that there was a lot of criticism about him keeping his wide receivers on the same side of the field. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins being kept on only on the left side of the field.
I hated when people said that was a Kyler thing because it's not. That's a Kliff thing.
I I, I look. I think no, it's a Cliff thing. I'll say this: it's
No, because
100% a Cliff thing.
Terry lined up in 2024. He lined up 83% on the left side of the field.
Hmm.
Diop was the same thing. So it's 100% a Kliff thing. He
I'll let,
likes his receiver there because it's where his quarterbacks feel most comfortable throwing the 7-yard outs.
so I'll go ahead and speak for this because I've also been a defender of that type of move. But I will say that Kyler Murray, when people want to say that his deep ball is gone and he's struggling a lot, it's because he had this system with Kliff Kingsbury. We had a 3-by-1 formation, as you saw in that play versus the Packers. He likes to have his big possession X receivers uh, lined up at the boundary side all alone because that's when you attract you. That's when you usually attract one-on-ones. When you have DeAndre Hopkins one-on-one on a cornerback and he's isolated, you mostly think to yourself, "That's a first down," or that guy's going to make a play. And we saw those plays all over 2020 season where he was lined up backside. Kyler Murray just chucks it up to him, throws either the fade ball, which he was really good at, or he knew that his wide receiver was going to make an adjustment. Because when you talk about somebody who's physical and is able to stack on a cornerback and make him turn around so that he doesn't know where the ball's coming from, that was DeAndre Hopkins. That was DeAndre Hopkins in a nutshell. So to get that isolation going, you have to line your bunch formations or your trip set to the opposite side of where you have your X receiver lined up at. And that right there is what can make the connection as good as it was with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Because let's not forget, these guys had a crazy good connection and were able to make adjustments on the fly. They had their own little personal hand signals to show to each other to say, hey, I want you to run a comeback. Hey, I want you to run a fade. I'm going to hit you for this in route or whatever the case may be. They had that connection with each other, and this is something that I see more of, where I don't see that much from Marvin Harrison Jr. going forth because Drew Petzing uses a lot more bounce formations. He uses a lot of 2x2s. He uses a lot of 3-by-1s, but he doesn't just isolate his X receiver as the alert. He mostly uses them on different backside digs and whatnot. Obviously, if you're thinking about a backside dig, that's going to be a hard throw for Kyler Murray to hit consistently because that's a over the middle type of shot. So, and you can see this commentary by Alex Rollins, who has made a good amount of quarterback, good amount of videos about Kyler Murray, mostly being negative, and he highlights that you don't see that alert X role from Marvin Harrison Jr. in this Drew Petzing offense, and that might be what is hindering that connection between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Because as you can see, there are some throws where Marvin is able to get up and get that ball physically, like the Seahawks game when Kyler Murray threw a fade ball to him and he caught that crazy good catch or that magnificent throw and catch over Witherspoon in the end
Yeah.
zone. You didn't see a lot of that because they didn't have that.
Marv is so frustrating because he's so good, but so
Yes.
bad at the same time. And it's just God, man. I really am excited to see him with a quarterback that's going to actually throw over the middle of the field to him because that's where he
Yeah,
thrives. But
that's exactly the point. Those middle over the middle type
his
quick
ends,
planters, yeah.
yeah,
His shallows, his ends, his quick cross his
backside
crossing routes and stuff.
crossers,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Those are his best
And we saw
route.
when Kyler was hitting those throws, Marv was catching them like where's Jalen Ramsey for a
Exactly.
touchdown. We
And
saw it.
so he's not an outside, supposedly outside fade guy or a comeback guy. Like I wanted him to be. I wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. to be that same role as a DeAndre Hopkins, but his strength, let's
Hmm.
be real, it is attacking the inside. It is doing those crossing routes, and it just wasn't a good
That was kind
marriage
of a hope that you
together.
think he could develop into. Like you wanted him to
Exactly.
develop into that, but because he has such a good radius, he's tall, he understands leverage a decent amount, I would say. But yeah, it's just he just really doesn't have he's just not aggressive. The body catches are so you can just tell he's so used to that because that's what some receivers do when they just go over the middle of the field. They like to catch with their body. Fucking
Hmm.
Amon Ra does it a lot sometimes.
It's yeah, and it's unfortunate because there are some times where he does make those catches that are crazy, like the double coverage one versus the Titans,
The
and
Titans,
we
yeah.
and of course you saw the beginning of the Cowboys. But I get to the point where I think the fan base thinks the same thing. Is he going to come down with that ball when he gets it thrown to him?
Because then
Like
you
is
see
he?
him mistime his jump. Was it versus the Rams last year where he mistimed it horribly? And it just like looked so goofy because he fully extended for a ball that went over his head because he just mistimed it so bad. And then you had the Niners game this year was just the same thing, brutal for him. He's mistiming jumps. He's dropped that crosser that Kyler hit him on for Fred Warner got in his face about it. Like
He was wide open.
such a good player, but so frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, because people are gonna make the argument that we should have drafted I forgot what his name is,
Neighbors
Joe Alt and
or Joe
Neighbors,
Alt.
And Brock Bowers. That those
Hate that. I
players
hate that
obviously.
discussion. That's a 2020 discussion. 2020 hindsight
Yeah,
discussion. It's like, come on, bro. Everyone
exactly.
loved the Marv pick. Let's not get over our heads about it. Like,
He was also one of the highest evaluated players in modern football. That was it was a like a lot of evaluators, YouTubers, and scouts that I said he's probably one of the best evaluations to come out from the 2024
yeah,
season.
the
So
only thing that was like a problem with him was his yak. That's it. Like that's all people could talk about was Marv doesn't have a lot of yak. That's why he's like that's his only knock. But everything else, like we didn't hear anything about this. He can't catch back shoulders. He, you know, God. I mean, I guess the play style with Kyler was talked about a little bit too. But
yeah, I just don't think they were a mesh as much as I wish they were. I
yeah,
don't think that they their strengths just aren't aligned with each other because you have Kyler who's more of an outside thrower and you have Marv who's more of a inside winner, and they just can't I don't think it
before
was a good marriage between both of them.
before we get back on the Cliff topic, what do you think caused Kyler's deep ball to just tank? Like, because it was elite from 2019. He was statistically, he was actually the best deep ball thrower in 2019 when Mahomes won MVP that year and had 50 touchdowns. He was actually better than Mahomes. I have the graph somewhere, but he had like a 50.51% completion percentage on his deep ball, which was the best in the league in 2019. And yeah, it was obviously really good. Like that Falcons game was incredible. But what do you think it was? Because it all started in 2022 with the wrist injury in camp, and then whatever happened after that, and it just
I think so aside from that wrist injury happening in 2022 and 2021, he just had the perfect storm of like getting the offensive scheme the way that they wanted to run it in those first 7 games when it came to having the isolated back shoulder guy.
mm-hmm.
And we don't give enough credit, but Christian Kirk, even though he wasn't known as like a high, a guy
He
that
was
like
great that
high
year.
point balls, he was really great, but he also caught a lot of very like hard to catch balls, like the over the shoulder catch he had versus the Titans, and getting those crazy catches. Like he also had that one versus the fourth down versus the Vikings, where he just goes up when he has a corner draped on him and he comes
I
down. So he
remember
had
that.
a lot of good concentration catches that also helped Kyler Murray to be able to trust them on deep balls that are fades or over the shoulders and whatnot. And obviously DeAndre Hopkins was there, but DeAndre Hopkins wasn't the player that he was the year before. I don't think they were concentrating too much. Also, let's not forget AJ Green was also one of his targets. AJ Green was a big body, 6'5" receiver. He caught a big, crazy ball for against the Detroit Lions, where Kyler Murray is essentially giving up 20 yards. Running backwards, defending,
Oh, versus the
yeah,
Lions.
versus Lions, yeah, where he like buys enough time and just throws it downfield, and hey, AJ's down there somewhere. AJ bodies a 5'9" corner. He did it again versus the Los
Yeah,
Angeles Rams, where he threw it. He boxed out the cornerback, and Kyler Murray threw a
I agree.
beauty
I
to
agree.
him.
But in 2019, his D ball was elite, and he had Trent Sherfield, Demir Bird, Christian Kirk, and Larry Fitzgerald as his receivers. Who were, you know,
I
his
think
D ball was great that year.
I think yeah, it's hard to actually pinpoint, but like there was a lot of moving parts in 2020, and plus, I mean 2022. Plus, AJ Green was not looking like the same receiver
Yeah,
he was in 2021. Christian Kirk, leaves for free agency, I believe. DeAndre Hopkins is out the first 6 games. He had Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown, like that. Talk about the worst trades that ever been done. Hollywood Brown is not a high point, get up there and get it type of wide receiver that catches balls through contact that I have seen. He's actually dropped wide open balls that have absolutely no defenders around him. So to me, the weapons weren't there. Everybody was like 5'9". Everybody was a speedster. You had Rondell Moore. You had Andy Isabella starting. You had Hollywood Brown. Essentially, you had a bunch of speedsters. And I even made this argument before they traded for Hollywood Brown, where everybody was saying, "Oh, this is a great trade because these guys played in college together." But I was like, these guys are speedsters that you have to throw basically open, and they're running a heavy too high system now with the defense is trying to eliminate the deep
Heavy.
balls.
Yeah.
So that's what I think happened. It was just there was like a couple moving parts.
Combination of the league adjusting and then his
Yep.
receiving core. I get that. No, that's fair. Yeah, because they
Yep.
run too high safety at like 70% now. Something crazy. Because it used to be cover one man and now it's too high safety.
Yeah. Be a lot of cover 3 as well. So
Yeah.
let's go over here to the 24-24 ranks. This is Washington Commanders. They draft Jaden Daniels second overall ahead of Drake May, which I don't know if they're having any thoughts about
I
that
would.
right now. With Drake May, yeah, with Drake May being as good as he is, seventh, 6,284 points per game, 28.5 passing. It's not their, obviously their best strength. 3,665 rushing, 2,619 yards, points total 485. EPA fourth, and EPA fourth. They obviously didn't provide me with one. I don't know why. And that year was obviously their little Cinderella year where they go on to the playoffs, make it deep. This time you see that you see the what had happened with Cliff Kingsbury and Cliff Kingsbury coach teams where the second half of the season they have like the collapse, right? That didn't wasn't necessarily true here with the Commanders. I think they just stayed even keeled at that point. But I will say that like with someone like Jaden Daniels was going to be a guy who was going to be hard transition onto the NFL. So
I
to
agree.
me, I made this argument that Cliff Kingsbury is a good transitional guy. I don't want him to be a head coach again, but he is a good transitional offensive coordinator because quarterbacks coming from college don't necessarily go under center or
No,
they
a
don't
lot of
know
spread. A lot of spread.
exactly. They keep their eyes downfield at all times, and they also like to keep things more static because they have all that wide field to work with where they like to spread their guys super far off and they run a lot of RPO and heavy screen offenses because those are the type of offenses that like get your burners out there over like wide open in space to be able to get like that crazy yardage yak wise and whatnot. And so the college game is definitely a lot harder. I mean, it's a lot different than what a like the obvious, the NFL would be, where you're
Hmm.
more about like, hey, we want to run the ball.
Traditional. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to run the ball. We want to have more heavier sets. We want to have a lot of under center, play action passes. The rules all obviously as well when it comes to the offensive lineman, they can only go 2 yards down the field, whereas in college they can go 5 yards down the field, and that's an insane rule that
And they
changes.
can. I didn't even know that. That's actually
Yeah,
crazy. On
yeah,
screens,
that's a lot. Yeah, on
that's
screens and
crazy. I did not know that.
so you can develop or you can design some crazy like plays that you cannot obviously run with the effectively with in the NFL because the rule changes being so like different causes some of these plays to not be as effective as they would vice versa. So in college, that's why you see a lot of RPOs because you can get your guys down the field quicker than it is in the NFL where they can't go further than 2 yards on a consistent basis. And so that's why the spread is king in college, whereas in the NFL, condensed formations, hard knock football, more run designs, heavier personnels. 13 personnels are starting to be called at a higher rate all across the board, not just with the Cardinals last year, but all across the
It's
board.
the
They're getting
counter the
more.
too high. That's all it
Yeah,
really is.
there's multi tight end offenses as well that are being called more often because you have to have one of them be your fullback, quote unquote, and you have to have the other one being your move guy. And so, I mean that's the change. And to me, when I was looking at some of the clips by Kliff Kingsbury, let me see if I can pull some of these. Well, actually, let me just stay on topic with this real quick, and I'll pull them up afterwards. But obviously, what happened was then the 2025 season comes around, and big collapse, and the ranks are they're not pretty at all. I wouldn't say they're cardinal bad, but they're still pretty bad. So you got 2025, 2020, 22nd, 5,419 yards, points per game, 20.9, 21st, passing 3,329, 24th, rushing still pretty high up there, 2,290,
Shout out
fourth.
Anthony Lynn.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you got 356, 22nd points per game. So right here, I wrote down Jaden Daniels played a total of 7 games this past year, missing 2 after week 2, missing 1 after week 7, dislocating his elbow in week 9, re-aggravating it in week 14. I mean that was a bad aggravation. If you guys see the clip, it's pretty bad.
Oh, his elbow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rotator and whatnot. And he essentially didn't have his full arsenal on offense, but he also didn't have his quarterback. But his quarterback, even when he was out there, he wasn't playing as well as he did the year before. And well, go ahead if you're gonna say.
Oh, so this is what I was getting to at the beginning of the show. Is why I think Cliff's offense is also not very good. Is because we see a trend. So Kyler Murray in 2022, right when his deep ball becomes not elite, the offense is bad, and that could be for a multitude of reasons, whatever. But it's the same thing in 2025 because because 2024 teams had a lot of respect for Jaden Daniels deep ball because it looked so good at LSU, but it was bad. It was in 2024 he had a lot of overthrows. I think he had the 17th passer rating on deep balls, and he had like the 27th completion percentage on deep balls. So it wasn't good. And I think this is where we get into the Kliff doesn't adjust because in 2025 when Jaden Daniels was playing, he had like one good game versus the Raiders or something. I don't even remember. But teams just start taking away and not respecting the quarterback's deep ball and start taking away the 7 yard outs and like the quick passing game. They start taking it away and making Jaden Daniels or in 2022 Kyler Murray beat them with their deep ball, which they know that they can't because of whatever personnel or Jaden's not good at it or Kyler wasn't good at it, whatever. And it just there's no adjustment there. And then I also found a very interesting stat is that in over 112, I think they had 112 under center plays this year. Only 9 of them are passes. So
Yeah,
that's a huge run tell. And then there was also a thing where every time in 2025 where Jeremy McNichols was on the field on third down, it was a run play 90% of the time. So
yeah,
those that's bad. We objectively that's bad because those are two tells of your offense. So when you're under center, Jane Daniels passes the ball 2% of the time. When Jeremy McNichols is in, they run the ball 90% of the time. It's like we what are we doing here?
I'll give you that there was not enough under center passes. We also got a question: is that because Jaden Daniels wasn't good at being able to throw those under center passes, or was he having a difficulty picking up like the right like reads when it came to turning his head away from the defense and whatnot?
It could be. It's the same thing with Kyler. Why there wasn't a lot of motion, even though I don't even know if Washington used a lot of motion this year, anyways. But Kyler doesn't understand how to read defenses when they do motion, so they couldn't do motion. It's the same thing still, pretty much. Like you can't run motion with Kyler Murray. That's why a little off topic, but when people are saying we should bring back Kyler Murray, it's like no, we can't because you can't run a LaFleur offense. It doesn't make any sense. But I
Yeah,
think it could be the same thing with Jaden, but it also could be just Kliff doesn't run motion, which is common in a spread offense, I guess.
yeah, it's supposed to help them pick up like any type of image, like having a static image of the defense and see in facing it constantly is a way of being able to help the quarterback not get so confused and whatnot. And even so, like motion isn't even the best indicator as it used to be of being able to read defenses because defenses are now running a lot of like match zone coverages and like
Hmm.
quarters and whatnot, where they're just like the responsibility is now being changed. So you have a defender shading or traveling with the wide receiver that's been sent from one side of the formation to the other. All they're doing is just changing responsibilities there because a lot of these corners or these apex defenders, they are now able to defend like wide receivers because of how like well they're being like the physical like traits are now good enough to be able to stick on wide receivers. We saw Imin as a big nickel guy be able to hang and defend wide receivers and whatnot. Did you see that with Kyle Hamilton? You saw that with Derwin James as well. I wish we would have seen more of that with Isaiah Simmons, but I mean, this position was just kind of like awkward when it came to the big nickel because he doesn't have lateral quickness, of course. Um, but these big nickel guys who are getting bumped out and bumped back inside, they make it possible so you could stay in a certain personnel and be able to defend so well. So why not just move them across the formation and make it seem to an offense like, hey, they're in man coverage. Oh wait, they're not in man coverage. They're actually in zone. Like
Hmm.
surprise. So that kind of muddies the picture for a quarterback, especially one that's just coming out of college, and also it could just be a comfort thing. Like the Cardinals ran less motion and were less under center passing with Kyler Murray on the field than when he was off the field and it was somebody else in there. So yeah, I agree with you with like a LaFleur, maybe not so much thinking to himself, hey, I want to see if I can fix Kyler because that'll be the death knell for you if you coach Kyler and
Don't
it
do it.
doesn't end up looking any different or it's the same because then they'll turn on you. They'll be like, oh, this guy's garbage. What does he know and everything. I don't know.
Kyler needs to go play in like a Matt Nagy offense where he's sitting
Yeah,
in
so
shotgun still.
yeah, exactly. Or Cliff
They're still
Kingsbury
a
offense.
little under center. Yeah, or yeah, Cliff
Mhm.
offense again, but they
Yeah.
would never play again. I trust me, they would
No,
never play again with each other again. It would never
no.
happen.
So there were so many passive aggressive like between both of the guys, like Cliff Kingsbury talking about Kyler Murray taking like, hey, I saw you have Kyler Murray call some plays. What's going on with that? Well, I mean, there's times where I call plays and he looks over the sideline, he shakes his head, and I was like, all right, why don't you do it, big dog? It ain't easy. Like there's
No, yeah, it's not
and
even
there,
it's not even that. Cliff could never coach Kyler though. Like that was a big thing off the field behind the scenes. Was like Kyler wasn't responsive to Cliff. Like that was because Cliff was always chasing Kyler. Is the thing. Even in high
yeah.
school, college, Cliff was always chasing Kyler, and I was like, how was that ever going to work? Kyler has such a big ego. It was never going to work. It was doomed from the start, to be honest.
I agree. And I mean, come on, Cliff. You didn't have to just push for the guy. Why don't you just get Nick Bosa? We could have had a worse record, and we could have had one of the quarterbacks in the 2020 draft. Well, I mean, if we draft Tua, then
Knowing
we're
that's who would have
screwed.
got to it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what I was about to say. We probably would have drafted Tua anyway. Oh my god.
Was so good in college before he fucking messed up his hip too. His arm
Yeah,
was different.
he needs to retire. I don't want him to get another concussion.
Yeah,
All right.
money
So now
talks.
So now I have this next portion. It's called Cliff defenses. No, Cliff didn't coach the defense. The whole point of this portion is to show the defense that he had when he was a head coach. So, yeah, 2019, 32nd. I mean, we know that it
That
was
was
a bad season.
expected though. Yeah.
Yeah. Passing yards, 31st, rushing 24th, PPG 20th. Although I would say when they started shifting players around, like especially during the Seahawks, they dominated as a defense because they had their guys in the right personnel in the right usages or in the right roles, I mean. And then when they drafted Isaiah Simmons, I was supposed to keep those guys in those same roles. And he was
2019. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
2019. Chandler Jones wins Defensive Player of the Year if they're
Oh yeah.
a better team. Not even. He was.
If they had more wins, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It went to Stephon Gilmore because he was with the Patriots. But yeah, 2019 Chandler Jones, 19 sacks, 8 forced fumbles. Yeah, that
No,
was
no,
it.
more than that. I think he had more than that.
Oh, well,
I
yeah,
think he
yeah.
was. I no, because I remember he was a sack away from the sack record, and then versus
Hmm.
the Rams, they just double teamed the whole game.
Hmm.
Let me just look real quick and see how much he had. I think he had 21 and a half though.
No, he had 19 sacks.
Oh,
I know that
he
because
did.
Shaquem Barrett
You're
or
right. He
Shaq
did have
Barrett.
19. You're right.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah. Shaq Barrett creeps up and wins the title by having a 3-sack game in his last game of the season, surpassing him by half a sack. I'm like, come
I
on,
don't even
man.
know that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Shaq
and
Barrett was good.
yeah, I didn't like the Bucks at that time. 2020 total yards, 13th, passing 10th, rushing 22nd. Goes with what I keep saying. The Cardinals can't stop the run, and it's been almost more than a decade. Points 12. So
Couldn't stop
it's
the
a
tight end too.
exactly. This is two of the most biggest weaknesses: the tight end and also like the obviously the run game, and also running backs running wheel routes from the backfield because we have Devondre Campbell, Jordan Hicks, slow asses
Oh my
defending in the
God.
space.
I didn't even mention how badly Steve Keim fucked up the Hassan Reddick deal. Steve
Exactly.
Keim is the word. No, so bad. So Haas, you're my boy. I know you don't care anymore, but Haas was willing. So what happened was, so what Keim would do is he would tell players. The same thing happened to Patrick Peterson and a bunch of other guys. But he
Hmm.
fucked so many players out of money you don't even know. But he would
I'm
tell
sure.
players like, "We're gonna get you paid. We got you," and then ghost, nothing. February rolls around, there's nothing. And
Hmm.
then, you have to move on. Happened to Patrick Peterson, happened to so many other players, or politics kick in and Steve Keim wants to save Bidwell money. That's why Bidwell loved him so fucking much because he saved them
Yeah.
money with player incentives. Because I had a friend who was, I think he had a snap count incentive and he didn't play the rest of the year for like the last two games.
Wow.
But yeah, Keim was an asshole. Nobody liked him. But anyway, Hassan Reddick, when we signed JJ Watt, he wanted to play here. He literally thought he was going to play here. That was his whole thing. But the thing is, Keim never reached out. They reached out actually to Arizona and didn't hear back. Nothing. So that year, Hassan ended up signing a 1 year, $6 million with the Panthers.
Hmm.
He wanted to
Yep.
stay in Arizona. His whole family lived out here. His cousin played at ASU. He literally wanted to be here, and it was just kind of mismanaged the hell of it. Imagine if we had a Son Reddick, JJ Watt, and Chandler Jones all rushing. Like
Yeah.
what? That would have been the best pass rush in the league. And Keim didn't call back because he didn't like player relations. He was never into player relations, and it fucked him because that would have been huge. Hassan literally was so happy when we signed JJ Watt because he thought he was going to be here. He thought he was going to be playing with Chandler Jones and JJ Watt, and he ended up not. And that
Yeah.
was, I forgot to mention that, but that was crazy. Like, what? Oh my God. If we had a competent GM, oh, everything could have been different. That 2021 team, they all think they could have won if they would have stayed healthy, by the way.
Yeah,
I digress.
absolutely. I was one of the biggest proponent, one of the biggest guys that wanted to re-sign Hassan Reddick because I knew for one he wasn't going to be worth a whole lot. Number two, we had drafted him and we had mismanaged obviously his position to the point where he lost some developmental years, not playing in the Sam linebacker role. Number three, he was going to fix Vance Joseph from Vance Josephing himself to having to have other linebackers drop into coverage like Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden on wide receivers when Hassan Reddick was athletically gifted enough to at the very least not like be able to do a good job, but at least be able to survive in
It
those
wasn't even
situations.
bad. It was good. It was solid in coverage. It wasn't
And
horrible.
exactly, and he also was able to obviously the best point of all is he was able to get to the quarterback. I mean, we saw him uh, uh, afterwards after signing with the Panthers for that year, getting that big contract that he loved from the Eagles. He also was a man who not only was good at being able to get to the quarterback, but the guy was a solid dude. I remember
Oh,
constantly
so
posting about.
humble. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I
awesome.
I
I
posted
had
a
a conversation with you about this, I think, on Twitter.
yeah, I had a couple posts about like Hassan Reddick, and he liked them, and I was like, "Wow, I only have 20 followers. This guy liked my post." There was like a post about that I quoted that said, "Who's your favorite player that doesn't play for your team?" I said Hassan Reddick, and he liked that post. And then of course, happy birthday, Hassan Reddick! Boom, he liked that post. So
Yeah.
he was that humble guy, and I had always like followed his career, cheered for him. Obviously, I was devastated that he had such a great like season with the Carolina Panthers. And I thought to myself, oh no, we couldn't afford $6 million a year. That's so disappointing.
Oh,
And
Keim just never called. Never just.
What
Complete
a what a
mismanagement.
douche. Yeah, what a douche. Like
And
seriously,
Haas, yeah, Haas. You don't even know how much Haas wanted to be here. Like it was, he
and
thought he was gonna play. He literally had it made up because I mean I don't know for sure, but I'm just gonna assume they said we're gonna pay you this year, and then
mhm.
that money went to JJ Watt apparently. Which I mean, fair, but you could have
They
had both.
still
So it's like
Yeah, they could have had both 100%. They could have made cuts. They could have done whatever they did. I remember they kept and no shade to this guy, but there was an outside linebacker that we signed from the Lions. That was a homegrown, like a guy that lived here. I'm not sure what his
oh
name is.
what's
I
his
know you know
name?
who I'm talking about.
Devon Kennard.
Devon Kennard, exactly. DK.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't have wanted this for him, but we could have also cut him to be able to make that. Yep, there he is, Devon Kennard right there. AZJ says, well, um,
yeah.
that we could have kept Devon, we could have released Devon Kennard and unfortunately make him be able to go find another location better and sooner for him that could have suited him. But Hassan Riddick then could have had at the very least another like prove it year. Maybe $6 million isn't a lot to be able to give him like 8 million
Yeah.
or at least 9 million or something. Hey, we need another year of production and then we'll pay you top dollar and whatnot. He could have given he would have been playing under his same defensive coordinator that we'll say like, hey, he made him flourish and whatnot. um and then he could have been a long-term Cardinal, and we're looking towards having a double-digit sack guy at the very least for like 3 or 4 years when we have
He
horrible.
was an all pro. I think
Yeah,
in Philly he was an all pro. And then
yeah,
Carolina he had like 13 sacks. He was amazing. And
yeah. He
then
was.
Kime was just so cheap, and that's why Bidwell loved him, is because he was cheap. I remember Dan Arnold and Kyler had a great connection, and then they don't re-sign Dan Arnold for like $3 million a year.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's right. Dan Arnold was a good big target, and I could see why Kyler Murray would have loved him. He's the type of guy that had that big target, that big body that he was just gonna get downfield somewhere, and Kyler Murray was gonna find him.
it's hard to miss him.
Yeah, exactly. And then he went over to Jacksonville and just
He went
uh
over to Carolina first, I'm
to
pretty sure,
Carolina
and then
too.
he went
Yeah.
to Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was gonna get the ball from Sam Darnold, so it was D Arnold throwing to Darnold. That was a
Yeah.
little bit of a joke. All right, let's see what he says. Kime couldn't pay Calais, but his incompetence was big that year. When they had him and Chandler, they had Chandler and Marcus that led the league in sacks. Dude and Bidwell didn't put emphasis on the money, but Steve, yeah, I
Oh
agree.
my god, it's the same thing with Tyron, bro. Everyone loved Tyron. You go ask these players, bro. Their favorite player, Tyron Matthew. Favorite teammate, Tyron Matthew. And we cut him because he didn't want to take another pay cut. Like, why are we? Kyle was just so bad. He ruined so many things, so many great things. Is
Yeah,
oh,
and he unfortunately chased after Daryl Washington that he never drafted. That wasn't a Kime draft pick, but he chased after Daryl Washington, but he did it about the wrongest way he possibly could, because if you're taking Hassan Riddick, and I will admit a lot of people were talking about him playing more of the inside linebacker position because of his size and whatnot. But if you're taking him, you better make sure that you develop him the proper way, or at least be able to have somebody that could develop him, or put him back in the role that he played back in college, and do that at a sooner pace instead of having him waste 2 or 3 years in inside linebacker getting absolutely trashed by pundits, like by the fan base. They want to cut this guy, get rid of him. He's horrible. It's Hassan Riddick, like waste of a pick, another kind pick. And then of course he has the production he does in 2020. People still aren't like moved because they're thinking to themselves, that's a fluke year. He had 5 sacks versus the Giants. If you didn't have those 5 sacks, he doesn't get double digit sacks. Maybe we shouldn't re-sign him. Hey, let's go after another big name or blah blah blah. And then he goes over to Carolina Panthers. And I told people, don't worry about so much of the sacks. He can get pressures. Worry about him being able to cover in Vance Joseph's defense so that you can allow other pass rushers to get him. He's a good guy that can get pressures and also drop into coverage. This guy is valuable. Mm-mm. It was like talking to a wall, or speaking.
oh, dude,
Of
Hassan
course,
was awesome. Everyone loved
yeah.
Haas.
That was my big vindication. Was a year afterwards, and I was like, yeah, see, told you guys. And then Hassan Riddick proceeds to ignore every single one of my tweets. Thank
I
you,
think he.
Hassan.
I don't think he's on social media anymore. I haven't talked to Haas in like a year, but I don't think he's on social media anymore. I think he's kind of
Uh,
doing his own thing. I don't really know what he does, to be honest. But
yeah, well, he's in Tampa, isn't he? Is he a free
Yeah,
agent?
he was. Yeah, he's a free agent.
Oh yeah.
He
I would
fucked up,
say.
man. I wish Haas would have like listened to some people because he shouldn't have sat out that year with the Jets. That was his biggest mistake of his career
Mm-hmm.
because it just ruined his production. He didn't get as much money and he should have got, and then now he had an okay year in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
I
his
hate that
value
for
isn't
Haas.
as high as it should be, though. But
That's true.
I would still give him a shot. I was like, hey, you want to come back to
He
AZ?
wasn't bad. It was just like, bro, you were. I think it was the last year of his deal. Rogers was, whatever. Rogers
Yeah.
and Devontae, like you should have been playing. I would have told him if I was talking to him still that you shouldn't have done that. You really just should have. I think he regrets it too because it did lose him a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. All right, we're almost going on to what 2 hours? Yeah, we're about to get to 2 hours. So let's go ahead and just get to the last portion and wrap this up. It's great a
good.
conversation, by the way. I love this
It
conversation that we're
turned into a
having.
lot of different conversations.
Yeah, it was supposed
Barely
to be
been
about
talking about Kliff.
Kliff. We talked about everything else. So I obviously put the yardage here for the defensive side and have it up to 2024. Washington Commanders, same thing. Their passing defense was actually pretty good. Their rushing defense was horrendous again. And that's 2024 points per game. They ranked 18th. 2025 right back down. This is what I ultimately think like led to a lot of the losses and all the inconsistencies was that they were so bad on defense. You had 28th passing, rushing 30th, points per game 27th. That like the playbook obviously couldn't be ran at its fullest extent in my opinion, but whatever. I digress. Texas Tech 2018. Now I'm gonna pull up offensive ranks 16th at 37.3 points per game, passing 252.6, fourth in the nation, rushing 109th at 131.8. QBs are on the screen. I'm not even gonna justify reading any of these names because I have no idea who any of them are. Quarterbacks, running backs, you guys can read it and pause it. Wide receivers, Antoine Wesley's the only one I'm gonna name because he was a Cardinal and he was a pretty decent in
He was
some
solid.
roles.
He was
Yeah, it was
AJ
solid.
Green before AJ Green.
Yeah, exactly.
Or actually, I think
Um,
they played. I don't remember. I think they
he
played the
came
same
down
year.
with he came down with some good catches too.
He was
Texas Tech,
athletic. He got hurt though.
yeah,
He tore his ACL like twice.
that
After that,
sucks.
it sucked.
And we have our Texas Tech total defense, 449th yardage, 108th rank, 86th in points per game, 31.1, passing 128th, 288.3, rushing 160.6 yards total, 62nd. They were last in the Big 12 and 128th out of 130th FBS team. I will say though, they were second in turnovers, so at least they had some that going for them. All right, so basically, a long story short, Cliff Kingsbury has never played with top-notch defense. Don't know what's going to happen with him when he comes to Los Angeles. My guess is going to be that he's going to formulate more of a pro-style offense with his buddy Sean McVay, teaching him the ropes about like C gap inserts, high motion,
You talking
more
about
connected
McVay's going to
personnel.
teach him?
Yeah, McVay is
Okay,
going
yeah,
to
I agree.
McVay. They're going to share the playbook, and I think they're going to share at least a little bit of concepts because I will show you few clips of some things that I do like that Cliff Kingsbury at the very least is good at being able to like implement. And one of them is like a thing that's called wash spinner. Um, or I forgot like the actual real terminology. I'm just calling it wash spinner because that's what I think about it. Um, so I think about like the quarterback
Yeah, I
doing
think
a full
we can
spin.
we can
Whoops.
disagree on the if Cliff is fired or not, but I think it's very clear that teams aren't really bought into his offense anymore. And I do agree with you, strongly agree that he has the best offense for a QB transitioning. But the thing is, it will never be long term success, and that's what teams realize because you can't play. You can't have your QB in shotgun. Like Mendoza can't run an RPO offense. Like, it won't work. That's all he
Yeah,
ran at Indiana.
yeah, I agree. When it comes to like going down the line, he does need to at least better himself, which is exactly why I like the move for him to go over to Los Angeles to obviously take the next step when it comes to offensive philosophy and whatnot. Um, but at the same time, he does have some pretty unique type of concepts over here. This is the one that I call wash spinner. So what's going on over here is you have a offset by the running back to the
His
right
power
side. Uh,
gap
let
run.
me-
I mean,
yeah,
sorry,
I think
gap
so.
scheme.
Think so. Let's see if the tight end and the guard mover, the tackle. Let's see. Yep, they
Yeah, it's
do. They
gap.
they pull. So yeah, it's a gap concept. I think it is power. As you have your jet sweep over here, obviously shoots, and this is why I like this jet sweep because it goes into an orbit motion, and the quarterback is turning to the left, faking the handoff to the wide receiver, ends up giving it to the running back at a like the way that this play succeeds is you have to turn so fast that you're handing the ball off and making sure that the defense flows the opposite way, thinking, oh, you handed it off to the wide receiver on the reverse orbit. Nope, it's the running back. So right here, you'll see it kind of flow. They actually flow towards. You know what's funny is
It
they
really
actually
didn't
flow to,
fool anybody
they
though.
didn't
If you
flow.
want to be honest.
Yeah, but they get that
But that
little
wasn't
six.
the point of it. It was just to get 4 or 5 yards.
Let's see what. I got the sideline view as well, so I'm gonna see if the secondary was kind of full. But yeah, they didn't fool anybody. They both hit the gap. It flowed towards where Eckler was about to hit. You had that double team, and you have the pickup by Zach Ertz. So yeah, that made that the 6 yard gain that it was that Zach Ertz was able to lead on that.
We had a good combo
Boom,
block
right
right
there.
there.
Yep. Combo and move up to the second level like a good center, no, tackle
Guard and
guard
tackle.
combination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of weird. I don't really still want.
Let me go ahead and pull up the other view so we can see what the secondary is moving. I mean, what the secondary is doing. Let's see. All right. I hate that beep that it does.
I
No,
didn't hear it.
I mean, kind of.
It made him freeze. It made the safety in the corner freeze. I don't even know
Yeah.
what are they in there in like
It
soft
moved
shell.
it moved the Sam, I believe, out of the way, and it gave the tackle. See that beep right there? I mean, right there. Watch.
No, I don't
It
hear it.
moved him. It was no, it was the tight end who was able to seal them off. Right over here. Watch. You'll see it. Boom. He's able to move out of position because he's supposedly going to defend the flat, and
Yeah,
he sealed
I see
himself
that.
out of the play. But it's still interesting that they.
But hey, it's a 6, 7 yard gain. Trying to see
It's a
the
good.
analog.
Yeah, it's a good concept to be able to gain the
Three,
yards.
4 yard gain. Yeah. Probably a
Let me
first down play call.
Oh
I
yeah, and
think.
it makes it obviously second and short. I think that's what it was. All right, let me remove that and go ahead and I have the other one too. Need to remove this one. Okay, I forgot I can pull up multiple clips at once. It's a pretty nice
I'm
feature
guessing
on
you're gonna
this
show
play.
me the swing screen touchdown. They act like it's a swing pass, and then the receiver just runs a 9.
No,
And
I
they
think
scored.
I got escort here.
Okay,
No, I don't think I have that one. I was only able to
that was a
watch a
good
few
one.
games.
But then they it only worked once, and then they started running it again, and it never worked again.
There we go. Yeah, the escort. So this was escort motion. I believe he motions. Let me. There we go. So it won't do that beep again. All right. It is in the shotgun, obviously. You got a wing and a running back, and he gets two escort. Yeah, it's double escort motion. It's pretty. I like that, like a play call from a shotgun look. You got the first guy, and you. Oh, okay. So what happens is the wing tight end also takes part in this escort motion. So
That
as
hurts.
soon as as soon as the wide receiver passes Ertz, they both go open field. He's able to at least get the first down. But yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we know this about Jaden Daniels. He's not a guy who likes to slide, and Cliff Kingsbury also
He
doesn't
doesn't want
care.
his QB sliding. I
Mhm.
promise you, he doesn't want his QB sliding.
I can't get rid of these. Let's see. Oh, okay, I see. They all get added. It's a lot, and I think I have probably two more clips to show, and obviously we gotta hit the hay. So
Hey man, good. Hey, flew by.
what is it? Is it the? Let me see. I wonder what this one is. And by the way, I didn't tell you this, but like you can also control this if you
I
have
don't
the
even. I'm on
ability.
my phone, so I don't even know how.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, what is this right here? Yeah, trips. Oh, yeah. It's actually not that impressive, but it's just a tight end. Basically switch releasing, cutting to the inside, text motion. So it's actually not even that impressive. of a play call. It's just more basic if you really think about it. It's just taking your guy who's more talented than the defense. I think I
What was
just
that with the
did that.
Ertz?
Yeah, it was with Ertz.
Smart.
What's this one right here? Oh, move the launch point. There we go. This was I like this concept. This is more about like how he likes to do his passing schemes downfield. Is you essentially have a deep scissors or a scissors concept. No, this is not deep scissors. This is I forget what the
Crosser
term was. Well, you have double crossers essentially, and they're both winning on their routes because they have inside leverage. They beat their corners on
man.
inside leverage. Yeah, think so. And then you have that
Shepard.
deep. Yeah, it's like a deep Seattle route
Oh,
by the
shit,
number
my
one.
AirPod just died.
Oh, you're good. We're about to like finish up anyway.
Yeah.
So you have that deep Seattle route over here, one on one with this cornerback that's able to basically essentially get himself open on the boundary. Great first down throw. What I do like about this concept is it at least moves the. Okay, so I know why I saved this one. It's because it's a flood concept, moving the launch point from shotgun look. So he obviously gets the ball, moving the
Yeah, it
launch
is
point,
flood.
and yeah, three levels of the same. Three levels, and everybody essentially wins their one on one. So yeah, this is a that's why I saved this concept. There's other ones, but I'm not gonna go over it. Like I said,
That's
we're
all good.
we're getting to that portion. Let me remove all these other ones. All right. Okay, so let me read a couple comments, and we're gonna go ahead and close out. All right, Pleasant not listed on the Rams staff. Not sure if he's
I
going
wanted him
to.
as the DC.
So did I. It just sucks. Like I mean,
Morales is whatever, man. It's just you gotta
yeah.
hope that it wasn't his philosophy that he wanted to run, but that's just hoping and praying, not just wishful thinking, I guess.
Yeah, it is, and obviously you saw the Max Melton post. He was not very happy about that move. I agree because players are going to be kept in the same situations as last year, and it didn't look good last year where they were at. I think Elijah Jones is probably upset, and he's probably going to get cut this season. And I think he's one of the best man coverage corners we had in our roster, but he
Yeah,
never played.
he played great. He played great at the end of the year. At the end of the year, the last game of the year, he played really
Yeah.
good.
He has the size, he has the length, he has the speed, and he's always been typecast as better man coverage corner that you wanted to put up on your number one guy. You obviously have Will Johnson, but Will Johnson was more typecast as a zone corner. So you have these two cornerbacks that you can use in like a modern day match zone coverages where you have one guy megged up and you have the other one in mod or whatever you want to do with them, and they just chose not to take advantage of that because they had to get the three interception guy because he was out there, like
Denzel Burke.
Denzel Burke. You had to get him out there because everybody was loving him for those interceptions, even though one of those interceptions was a fourth down Hail Mary. The other
Yeah,
one
and
was a
got Will Johnson hurt.
oh yeah, that's right. All right. Well,
They
they
need to
said that
move Buddha back into the box too. He can't be playing deep safety anymore. I love Buddha. That's my boy. Just he needs to be playing a more traditional free safety role, I guess, because he's just a havoc in the box and he's not the best in coverage, which is fine. Because yeah,
he's always
I
been a
would.
liability.
That's why I would love if we got Caleb Downs. If we because Caleb Downs is Buddha Baker if he was good in cover. If he was really good in coverage. So
Yeah, I want a defensive playmaker and Caleb Downs. I'm coming more towards wanting to draft somebody like him. There's obviously Arville Reese as well, but those two players
mhm.
are fighting the 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 community because the community wants to go offensive line or offensive tackle third overall, which is why I'm going over this project that I'm going through. Um, but also because we have the issue with, hey, we've tried that. We don't want another Isaiah Simmons. Well, I'm like, well, Isaiah
Yeah.
Simmons didn't get the best coaching that he could have,
Yeah,
and he wasn't.
Isaiah Simmons gets fucked because he had the COVID year, which sucked and ruined a lot of players. If you go look at that, I was doing it the other night actually with some friends. If you go look at that 2020 draft class, there's so many busts in that COVID year. Like over half the first round doesn't even start anymore or something like that. Something crazy. But then also, he's not like I do know Zay personally. He is not a film guy. Like that is unfortunately when you're that talented, sometimes it gets into your head that you don't need to watch film. But he's not really a film guy. That's kind of just he kind of plays off instinct and plays because he's really talented and a better athlete than everybody. And we have a quarterback that is the same way. So yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean,
it
that aside
worries.
from the fact that he had to learn everything
Yeah, that
from
was
like a
horrible. He had to learn
from a
7
tablet.
positions.
And
Horrible.
and when you have a guy, either way, when you draft him, you also coach him to be able to do those type of things. If he's not watching film, what is Vance Joseph doing? Not like telling this guy, "Hey, we're gonna." No, he was just like, "Screw off." Well, we have Devondre Campbell and Jordan Hicks who know the playbook
Yeah.
and this and that.
Vance Joseph is also not a guy that doesn't. He's a guy that doesn't like to play rookies. Unfortunately, some coaches, it's a stupid coaching philosophy. Sean Payton is actually the same way. Now they work together, but they don't like
Yeah,
playing rookies, which is dumb. They I don't even know how much Jahar Barron played this year, but he wasn't. He was
yeah.
drafted above Will Johnson, and everybody kind of shook their head at that. And yeah, Will Johnson was better than him this year, at least.
Yeah, that's actually a crazy thing that you just mentioned. It is true that they don't like to have the rookies out there at least get those snaps. But if you're that talented, wouldn't you think that like learning by live snaps and not like, oh, hey, practices is practice, he's just horrible. He's not
They
showing up
think
during
you have to
practice.
earn it, and yeah, I mean
Oh
Zay
yeah,
was. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, bro. Zay did let up an 80-yard touchdown his first like series of his career,
yeah,
so
he did,
that
and
sucks.
that's unfortunate because he was getting consistent snaps, and then it was on that. And there's a breakdown about this. 49ers were talking about when he gave up that 70-yard touchdown. They actually
Raheem
lined it up.
Mostert. Yeah,
Yeah, Raheem Mostert. They sequenced it so that they got Isaiah Simmons one on that coverage call because they noticed that whenever they were motioning from one side to the other. They were rock and rolling their defensive, like their linebackers, and they trusted Isaiah Simmons to be in coverage versus the running back, and they hit him with the Texas route with nobody even close to the vicinity of being able to like stop that route because of the defensive scheme that Vance Joseph was running at the time had that single high safety, and that single high safety was not Jalen Thompson. I forgot what his name was. I think his name is it's a guy that we had as a special teamer that came in and actually played
mm,
well enough. But I know you know what I'm talking about. Is that safety that came in for Jalen because Jalen got hurt. Jalen was
I'm
like
trying to
out.
think now.
Chris
Wait,
something.
Buddha. Oh,
If you
Chris
get
Banjo. Chris
Chris
Banjo.
Banjo, there you go, Chris Banjo. He came in, at a short notice to essentially play deep field safety because they were trying to get more people in the box, and he was running more consistent, like one high structure, middle field close.
Which
And
doesn't
then
no one runs anymore.
So, and then that system and situation, if you have your wide receivers just essentially running out routes or quick routes or whatnot, the safety has to be in charge of defending the entire length of the field. Well, if
hmm
Isaiah Simmons doesn't make the play because he has no lateral agility or anything on a guy like Raheem Mostert, he's going to take it to the house. And that's exactly what happened.
I don't know.
It
I don't
turned
know
it.
if you knew this, but actually, 2020 is the year we saw the shift from cover one man to deep safety. So in 2020, I think it was teams were playing too high shell 43% of the time, and I think
Mhm.
this year it's now 73% of the time, which is just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
just
that
never.
is.
It'll go back to cover one eventually. I think when teams start running the ball and these quarterbacks are more not are more polished coming out, then I mean that's not going to change this year. Maybe next year is the class we get where all these quarterbacks are polished because they're all playing for so long, but it's going to change eventually. I think
Yeah,
it'll go back.
it's a cyclical thing. Every coach or everything that I've read about is cyclical. Like they have done this before where they would shift to more passing, shift to more up tempo, or like the defense has to catch up, but then it catches up and then it shifts again, and then it
Yeah,
catches up and it shifts again. So I believe you when you say it's gonna shift again. Yeah, it will because
well, because it went
there
from Tampa 2 to cover one, and now we're in too high.
yeah,
So the
too high.
90s or 2000s were the new evolution of Tampa 2 that no one could pass on. And then it
Yeah,
went to cover one because everyone started just abusing seam routes. And then now it's covered two or now it's too high, whatever,
right.
because all these quarterbacks aren't as developed and they can't really read the defense. And they're just like, yeah, we're gonna make you pass on us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the man match zone cover two. is what's dominating. But like the next shift in that is led by Mike McDonald, who actually wanted. Of course, the Cardinals don't listen to me and everything, but I wanted Mike McDonald as the head coach. When the Seahawks hired him, he's evolving the scheme, and essentially his back with Baltimore, they actually did get the bones of it going. They have a safety system. He's ushering in the big nickel defense
Yeah,
in all of
Spoon,
his exactly in all of his. He has Spoon and he has Eamon Worry
Josh
who are
Jobe,
playing.
or Imawari. Yeah,
Yeah, they have these two guys playing so good in the box. Eamon Worry being a big like a linebacker slash safety
yeah.
guy that can help you in the run, but also defend, especially like on wide receivers, even shifty like slot receivers. So I thought to myself, we could have had heralded that new vision had we actually played the linebackers that we drafted and bumped Isaiah Simmons out to like a big nickel role, but have him be a more effective blitzer because that's exactly what his specialty was. And you have Zaven Collins, who's a little bit like though he's bigger, he's a lot more shiftier lateral wise because he has big legs and he has big strong legs that aren't gonna make his center of gravity go higher like Isaiah Simmons would. And he was actually pretty effective in being able to defend running backs. At the
Hmm.
very least, surviving against them, and is also tight ends. But no, we had to have Jordan Hicks and Kaiser White defending these guys and getting killed by them, and
I
because
think I want to touch on something just for the NFL as well. I think these teams need to just please, just for the love of God, like Josh McDaniels and Mike McCarthy need to get out the league. Like their offenses are so, you may disagree, but their offenses are so outdated. They like, oh my God, Josh McDaniels frustrates me so much because Drake May is so good, but Josh McDaniels is so bad in my opinion. And his offense worked 15 years ago and it doesn't work anymore because there's no, like, a lot of these teams that run these West Coast systems, they don't like to run gap. Like they just like to run inside, outside zone. Like, oh, it frustrates me. Like Mike McCarthy is so bad, in my opinion. He's never had a good run. He had a good run game in 2021, and the last one before that was 2013. Like, just they need to give up on these old offensive minded play callers too, as well, to shift this again because the West Coast system traditional doesn't work in the NFL anymore. It doesn't. It's too easy to stop. I know there's West Coast principles, every team runs it, but just like a traditional West Coast offense, 3, 5, 7 step drops, they don't work. You can't just run no gap anymore or limited gap. You have to run like these innovative gap schemes and C gap inserts that we're now seeing. Uh,
Yeah.
but
No, I agree. I don't like their philosophies, and yeah, they're part of the old movement, especially since they've been in the NFL for like almost 3 decades and whatnot. So I agree with
yeah.
you. So let's go ahead and just say who we take, and we will go ahead and end it for the night because I gotta download this. Got to download this Steam. The stream is gonna be a long time before I can get it downloaded.
Sorry, we got a lot off topic. We didn't really stick to Cliff, but I think we found some common ground. We're gonna disagree on some stuff. It's fine.
It was
That
it
was
was,
expected.
it was fine. It was good. I
Yeah.
liked it. All right,
It was a
so
good
who
it was a good conversation at the Cliff era. We had very good Cliff era conversation.
AZ Jace is trying to get us to do a third hour. Nah, I'm sorry, man. I gotta wake up at 4 in the
I got an
morning too.
exam tomorrow at 10:30.
Yeah. Sorry. But AZ, I'm glad that you went ahead and obviously you enjoyed it. Maybe someday we can also do this as well. All right. So who would you take at third overall?
Oh man. If I had to choose third overall, I can't really be mad at any pick, but if I had to choose somebody, I want a good player immediately who I know is already good at. It's just, he's just the best player on the board in my opinion, and that's going to be Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs would be the best player on the board immediately. I mean, I love Buddha, and I honestly do think they're going to re-sign Buddha again. I don't think they're ever going to let Buddha walk, and he doesn't really want to leave unless something happens. But I think Caleb Downs would be the best Buddha to pair with Buddha, in my opinion, because I think Buddha could play the traditional box, and then Caleb Downs could also maybe transition to that role, and DTD is also good in that role. I don't know, but I just love Caleb Downs. I think his only thing is the things he gets knocked on is his size, and then he is very aggressive. So it kind of leads to his deep safety's not as good because he's aggressive as fuck. But I would love Caleb Downs. I think he's the best. He's going to be the best player on the board. He's going to immediately be a Pro Bowl level safety. I know it's an undervalued position in the NFL, but that's fine. But I mean, if we're following the new defensive scheme, the Seattle Seahawks have three really, really, really good safeties in Kobe Bryant, Imawari, and Julian Love. So I would like to follow that philosophy, to be honest.
I agree. I would also go with Caleb Downs, just the talent alone, and plus the shift of the new defenses going towards three safety structures or big nickel type structures. I'm obviously, I think he's at like 6 foot, so you wouldn't even count
Six
as a
foot
big guy.
one, but yeah, he's gonna be like 6 foot. They always embellish the height a little bit, you know.
Yeah, that's still not a bad. Also, like I'm not against Arville Reese as well because once again, this is a guy that's a total game record and whatnot. I gotta go watch more film on this guy, but I'm gonna fall in love with these guys immediately once I do start watching more film because these guys fit the role of what I want in a defense. I want a game changer. I want a guy who was destructive. I want a guy who on any given down can force an intercept, can get an interception or force a fumble, or at the very least make the game winning play because I'm tired of watching this defense constantly give third and longs away or constantly give up like crucial like first downs to end the games because we don't have anybody on defense who's a defensive playmaker. And Kurt Warner has said it best this year constantly on the PHNX podcast. He has constantly said you do not have playmakers on the defense because you're either not drafting somebody who is a playmaker or your team is just not suited to have somebody being a playmaker when you have all these off coverage or like heavy zone schemes that give up too much yardage underneath. So yeah, I would say like one of those two I would be happy with.
Who would be the worst pick in your opinion? We'll do that real quick. The worst pick at 3.
It's Francis. It would be like 100% because it's not to say that he's not a good player, but like tackles aren't getting drafted more than like no higher than like number fourth overall. That was like that's the thing. And this guy is
Right
in.
tackles, especially, by the way. Not even
Yeah,
left
he's
tackles.
right tackle, exactly. And so he's gonna have to shift what he learned. And I mean, some people can do it, it's fine. Some people can transition to it, but most of the teams that I'm looking up on like the top 25, no, the top 32 teams, the top 10 don't even have more than 2 first round picks on their roster. And if one does, which is the Broncos, they have Mike McGlinchey who didn't even draft. They just signed. He wasn't even like
Yeah.
he didn't come out like gangbusters or like they obviously let him go in free agency. He wasn't like the San Francisco 49ers weren't like, "Hey, we miss you. We're going to miss you, man." No, they drafted him in the first round and he ended up like walking and whatnot. And so most of these guys structure their offensive lines to have at least second, third, and fourth round supplements. Most of these second and third round, that's where the averages is. They don't usually want to spend more than a first rounder on one of their positions. And if you're getting two guys that you're going to have as first round picks, let's say they both ball out. Well, you already have Paris Johnson where people are saying they're going to extend him. Well, he's not going to get a contract. It's going to be below market value. He's going to get something of a starting left tackle.
He'll get his market value for sure.
Exactly. And
That's
then you're
how it
going to
is.
get Francis, and Francis is what? Gonna be a fifth year. Like you're gonna have him as a fifth year starter. And what if he balls out? Now you got to pay two tackles. Who's gonna stay? You're
Yeah.
probably gonna let one of them walk. And aside from that, that's not what leads to a successful offense. Is having two stud tackles that are playing so well because at a certain point their value drops. A good block is a good block, but if you're like pancaking the guy, that doesn't mean hey, you pancake them so this run goes for like 70 yards or this pass goes for like 80 yards. No, you just have to do your job. So there's a certain amount of time that you have to keep the pocket clean for the quarterback. And there you go. The success of the play still hinders on him making the throw and the wide receiver getting open and scheme.
I agree. I think it would have to be O tackle too. I mean, it was either that or I would love Jeremiah Love though. Like even I can say it's a bad pick at 3, but he would change the offense, which is like more valuable than drafting a tackle. I think a team that has drafted 2 tackles in back to back years, I think, is the Saints. I think they drafted Kelvin Banks and Fuanga.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like in my opinion, there really isn't a wrong decision at 3. Like I think any decision helps because yeah, like you said, even if you draft a tackle, it's a building block. But I think that would be the most uninspiring pick. It would be
Yeah, exactly.
Manu
And
or whatever his name is, the guy from Miami, Francis.
it's definitely an impulse pick because you saw how bad that position was. The upgrade was Calvin Beachum, who was solid at that right tackle position, but you don't want him as your long term starter because of his age. And obviously, who'd have thought that Jonah Williams was going to be so horrible? I've been saying that for
He
2 years.
was a solid left tackle when he first came in the league, and then yeah, he hasn't made the shift.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
new
So
position. You can't use your sets the way you want to. You can't use your leverage. It's
yeah.
a totally new position. And that was why starting Paris at right tackle his first year was just a complete mismanagement too. Like that was
Yep, exactly. So that's a story for another day. But unfortunately, guys, like I said, grinding down. It was a awesome talk with you, Dylan. We
I
went like
appreciate it.
2 hours and 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast too as well. Hopefully, we can have more of these. I would love to have more of these.
Anytime.
We could
Anytime.
we could have a topic and stay on topic this time.
We were definitely not on topic.
It's all good. We went through a lot. All right, guys. You guys have a good night and stay safe out there. Go Cardinals. All right.